We had a nice win tonight with the Texans versus the Bills. Hit our same game parlay, second consecutive same game parlay. So hopefully we have success the rest of the week. We're going to get into the Week 12 NFL picks against the spread. Before we intro and get into the picks, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, something from the merch store is on my body. It is the 100% USDA Man t-shirt. It's a reference to Matt Millen, and it's a shirt that my 2-year-old daughter loves. She goes, oh, hot dog, yum, 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 every time she sees it. So you get that as a bonus, but you can go here at the merch store, get 20% off anything. You can get women's tank tops, you can get or you can get hoodies, you can get infant onesies, and if you're a deranged lunatic, you can get long sleeve t-shirts. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people. By the way, it's 5 out of 5 stars, so this might be the best book of all time. Also, A Safety and a Field Goal, which was my first book. It is a top 5 topic book about the NFL, mostly serious stuff, but some funny stuff too. It has some funny stories in there that you may not have heard if you haven't read this book. Also, consider super chats and super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. I say this all the time, and it's 100% true. YouTube ads absolutely suck. It is Q4, so it's better than usual, but in about a month and a half, it's going to go down to like $0 per show. So you guys really want to help us out, just please consider super chat, super stickers. We had, I think, $40 for Kevin Kovac yesterday, and about 100 from him the week before. So Kevin, thank you so much for supporting us. And we've had Slew also, and a host of others. So thank you guys for helping us out and keep the show going. All right, we're joined once again by Evan Daniel. Evan, how are you? How's your week 11?
Good, thanks, Walt. Finally, we got a Thursday night game that wasn't Jets, Patriots, or Raiders, a stinker with 16 total points. So a little bit better game tonight. I wasn't sure why the line dropped right before the game. I saw a closing line of 4, so I thought that was a little interesting. I was flip-flopping all week on who I liked in this game. Didn't really have a side. We talked right before we went on air. I'm glad Houston won, and that's really just from a perspective of being a football fan, rooting for who I think the better teams are to possibly continue their playoff hopes, because I really don't want to see Jacksonville in the playoffs. I probably don't want to see the Chargers without an offensive line in the playoffs. And of course, we don't want to see Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. So to have a team like Houston, if they're going to get better, if they can protect, that defensive line is really, really good. They were unbelievable tonight. I mean, 8 sacks on Allen is crazy. So happy that they won. Happy we got a little bit more of an entertaining and exciting finish than what we normally see Thursdays. Otherwise, no real action tonight. Ready to move on.
Yeah, I disagreed with you. I was like, well, we get some easy fades in the playoffs, so I was rooting for the Jacksonvilles of the world and the Pittsburghs of the world to make the playoffs so we could fade them. They were one and done. Like those teams like that were one and done last year. Steelers losing right away to the Ravens, the Broncos getting blown out by the Bills. So I always enjoy some of these stinkers getting in, and so we can go against them. So. It's tough to handicap playoff games sometimes, just because these teams are generally even. Sometimes you have an edge, but usually it's really like a coin flip sometimes if you have 2 elite teams going against each other. But if you have a crappy team in there, they're generally going to fail to cover the spread. So
I don't want to watch it. A couple of years ago, we had Miami in the playoffs when they went up against Kansas City, and the temperature was like minus something degrees. And that was just not a fun game to watch. And yes, we all bet Kansas City in that game. Not fun. No interest. We've all seen the Jaguars and the Broncos last year that made the playoffs that had no chance. Any standalone game, you can win money with live betting on FanDuel. You hit a same game parlay tonight. I hit a same game parlay tonight. I hit a bunch of live bets right before halftime with Houston over 9.5 points. That line was being offered with 5.5 minutes to go in the second quarter. With Houston at first and goal. Now, I get it. They usually don't score sometimes goal line situations. I think they had I think it wasn't a goal line situation, but it was like a 2nd and 1 or a 3rd and 1. And they were offering over 6.5 points. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Why not? And then I played the over in general. And then Buffalo took the ensuing kickoff for a touchdown. So no sweat there. Over, I think it was like 22.5 total. And it went to close to 29. And then the same game parlay at halftime, just easy pickings, right? And that one I needed Josh Allen to get 207 passing. So I needed them to get the ball back late. You could always find edges late in games or middle of the game with same game parlays. You don't need to root for the Jacksonvilles and the Steelers of the world to make the playoffs. Just bad product. I'd like to see Houston in the playoffs. Obviously, we want to see Kansas City and Buffalo in the playoffs. If we're going to get matchups like Pittsburgh and Denver or the Chargers and Denver as a playoff game, that's brutal. Jacksonville and Denver as a playoff game, I'll pass.
See, I'm like, why not both? You can bet pregame and you can bet live in game. I don't know. We have bills to pay here. It's $6,000 in bills per month. We need all the help we can get with these free bets. Just the free wins. I definitely hear it from a football fan's perspective, but I always enjoy the stinker and the blowout. Quacky with 36-20 in his MB Super Contest. Congratulations on improving to that record. That's awesome. And then Sue says, with that 4-man pass rush to Houston's, why would they ever blitz? They got burned once again on a short pass that went for 40 plus and 3rd and long, almost cost them the game. Yeah, I always wonder that. Like, it's what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. They didn't blitz a single time against Mahomes because they're like, well, why would we? We can get to the quarterback with 4 guys. There's no need to blitz. So I never understand that.
Should they go prevent? I don't know what that prevent was on 4th and 27.
Yeah, that prevent was awful. But yeah,
that was the worst prevent defense I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm just saying that, like, you don't, like, if you're that consistent with the pass rush with 4 guys, you don't need a blitz. Like very rarely, like 10% at most. So, all right, let's get into these games here. The first one is Steelers at the Bears. The Bears are -2.5. It was 3 earlier in the week, and obviously a bullish indicator on Pittsburgh that it's moved to 2.5. You get Mike Tomlin as an underdog here, which is intriguing. And the Bears injury report, maybe this is why the pro money is coming on Pittsburgh. The Bears might be missing their top 2 linebackers. They're already missing their top guy, TJ Edwards. And I pointed out how bad they are against the run when he's been out. The past couple of times, they lost they almost lost to the Raiders when Gentry had his best game. That was with Edwards. And then they nearly lost to the Giants. They would have if Dart got knocked out. And then against Minnesota, Minnesota's up with about a minute to go. So Chicago's defense definitely worse than that Edwards, and now they might be without Tremaine Edmonds. So neither of these guys have practiced yet. So this is definitely a problem for Chicago. But we don't know Aaron Rodgers' status yet. He might play. We don't know. It's gonna come to the Friday practice. Frankly, if I'm betting the Steelers, I want to see Mason Rudolph because Rodgers has just been terrible this year. It just gets rid of the ball quickly. He's had a couple of bright moments here and there, late game against the Jets, for example, week 1. But overall, he's been awful. So Mason Rudolph is at least looked functional in that second half last week, and we've seen him play decently for the Steelers in the past when he's gone against bad defenses. And Chicago is definitely a bad defense. So right now, I'm leaning Steelers +2.5. If it's Rodgers, I definitely won't be betting them. If it's Rudolph, I'd consider a small bet maybe. What do you think here?
I would lean to the Bears at 2.5, but I have a lot of reasons why I would not bet either one of these sides. First of all, I don't want anything to do with Pittsburgh off of a win. We've talked about that in the past. I don't care Tomlin as a dog. Tomlin as a favorite. To me, Tomlin off a win is a no-bet zone. I don't have any difference between Rudolph and Rodgers in this matchup. The Bears defense, as you pointed out, is one of the worst in the league. And I don't see Pittsburgh moving the ball downfield anyway. Rudolph or Rodgers, they don't want to throw the ball downfield. Rodgers wants to get rid of the ball right away, doesn't want to get touched. Certainly, if he plays, he'll be protecting that wrist. He really doesn't want to get hit this week. So I don't have any interest in betting that side. Chicago is one of 2 teams in the league that, they're either the most or in the top 2 or 3 most overrated teams in football. Probably a bottom 3 defense. I think they're number 30 overall yards per play given up. They have a negative point differential. They're one of 2 teams this year, we'll talk about the other one later, that is above 500 with a negative point differential on the season. So that just tells you how overrated they are. They should have lost to the Raiders when they won on a blocked field goal. They should have lost to the Redskins when the Redskins fumbled the snap because it was raining late and they were running out the clock, and they fumbled in exchange between Jaden and McCroskey Merritt. So that game was over. And then the Giants game was all but over, and they somehow pulled that game out. I'm going to give them credit for the win last week. Obviously, they were winning the entire game, and then, of course, blew the game at the end before a kick return that they didn't even get a first down on that last drive. Were able to kick a field goal to to beat the Vikings. But because they were winning the entire game, let's say that they deserved that win. But at 7-3, to me, this is a below 500 team. So I don't want anything to do with Chicago, laying points especially. And there's no way I'm betting the Steelers on the road coming off of a win, whether it's Rodgers or not. So easy pass. I would lean Chicago at 2.5 because I still have Chicago as the slightly better team, and I don't like the spot for Pittsburgh. And Chicago continues to get lucky. By the way, as far as luck, not just negative point differential, they are far and away the number one team in the league in turnover margin. No. They're at 1.6 plus turnovers per game. Nobody else is better than 1. So it's a very large discrepancy between them and number 2. But maybe they continue to get lucky. You mentioned the injuries on defense. Obviously, that affects the run defense. Their secondary stinks regardless. But easy pass. I wouldn't take either one of these teams as a contest pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Not much interest here at all, barring something crazy on the injury report. Pat says, can't believe Lamar is 75-1 to an MVP. If the Ravens win 6 out of 7, he's got a chance, or maybe 7 out of 7. What do you think if the Ravens run the table?
We're only halfway through, and the AFC is wide open. Obviously, they are favored to win the division by a wide margin. If you look at the Patriots still have a very, very easy schedule. So it's certainly possible that they could win 5 out of 6 or whatever amount of games they have left. I know they have 2 tough games left. One of them is against Baltimore. Is that in Baltimore? New England
plays. I think so.
New England plays in Baltimore. They play Buffalo and in Baltimore weeks 15, 16. So it's very possible. And by the way, the Colts have a very tough schedule too down the road. And who knows with Denver? Obviously, they already have 9 wins. So yeah, there's a lot of time left. If Baltimore could run the table. Now, Baltimore hasn't played well since Lamar came back. I know they beat Miami by margin, but they didn't play well in that game. He certainly didn't play well last week against Cleveland. So there's a long way to go. But yeah, 75-1 as a long shot if they run the table or win 6 out of 7 to close and maybe finish with like a 3 seed or maybe even a 2 seed and beat some of those other teams ahead of them, like I said, New England. So it's certainly possible that he can win the MVP. I don't think anyone's really running away with MVP. Who would you give the MVP to right now? I mean, I don't even know who I would favor. Certainly not Josh Allen. He's had a couple of weeks where he hasn't played well. Last week he was Superman, but tonight he wasn't great. A couple weeks ago he wasn't great. He wasn't great in the New England game that they lost. He was good against Kansas City. Okay. I wouldn't give Daniel Jones the MVP because Jonathan Taylor is the MVP of that team. So that kind of nullifies both of those guys. I don't think I would give it to Drake May at this point.
It's Stafford, I think.
Maybe Stafford is the leader in the clubhouse. It's possible. But yeah, that's why I guess 75-1, not bad. I don't generally bet the MVP race, but 75-1 is not terrible.
Yeah, I actually have a bet on Lamar.
Jonathan Taylor's not going to win. Sorry to interrupt you. Running back will never win again, ever. You'll have to have like 3,000 yards for a running back to win. I mean, look what Saquon did last year. McCaffrey the year before. These guys had no shot.
Yeah, because they could just give him Offensive Player of the Year and just be content with it.
Right. So, they're never and it's just narrative. You're never going to give it to a running back unless the quarterback is dreadful, or unless you're like a Trent Dilfer situation years ago, and you have a running back like an Adrian Peterson, or somebody who's literally 2,500 yards, 20 plus touchdowns, totally carrying a team. But look at some of the games that Taylor's had. Like he's had 3+ touchdowns in a bunch of games. 2 of those games were the Titans. Like, all right, so he's piling on. Good for him. He's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. He's not going to win the MVP.
Yeah, I think it's Stafford right now. I had a bet on Lamar before the season started, just because I like the narrative that there's such a hubbub about Josh Allen win MVP. Like so many people complain about Lamar that I thought that the voters would just vote for Lamar if he had not even a great season, just had like a really good season. The Ravens had a great record, and then I felt bad when he got hurt. But now if he runs the table, I think that you could definitely do it. So I don't think I'd bet it now. It's just I already have a ticket on Lamar, but 75-1 seems awesome. Could have made the case Barkley was more valuable to the Eagles than Hurts.
I totally agree. And he had no shot at that MVP last year. He wasn't even close.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, it came down to Allen versus
2,000 yards. He sat out late in the season. He had a record-breaking year. He was unbelievable. And yet he wasn't even remotely close to the MVP.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, it came down to Lamar versus Allen. It wasn't even like Lamar versus Barkley or Allen versus
Right.
Barkley. Like Barkley
No,
wasn't even in the top two.
Barkley wasn't in the picture.
Right. Right. Exactly. So it was and the Colts have to keep this up too. Like if they lose a couple games, then Taylor's done as MVP candidate. So he's still going to win Offensive Player of the Year, but MVP is just going to be gone. So they have some tough games coming up too.
What is Taylor's odds? I'm just curious if you have that.
I will pull it up right now. NFL awards.
By the way, we don't have NFL awards on FanDuel in New York. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, you can't bet awards in New York. Yeah,
7-1. That's ridiculous. I would book anybody right now who wants me to give them 7-1.
Who would you bet anyone here? With Lamar,
No,
Lamar 80-1 here.
Stafford 125. That's insane. I would never bet an MVP at this point in the season at 125. Yeah. That's an absolute that's thievery there. Mahomes 20-1. Allen 16. See, I think the Bills are done for the division after tonight's loss. I don't see that. I don't think Mahomes. They're not going to win the division either after losing last week. Knicks, Goff, Hurts. Wow. Darnold 60-1. Nope, not after last week. He's out.
Jordan. No Jordan
Lamar,
Love.
You know what? Lamar 80-1 is not a bad bet.
Yeah, it's the best number.
That's a crazy number because if they do run the table, what's their record? How many losses they have? 5?
They're 5-5.
So if they go 12-5,
yeah. He'll win if he wins his last 7. They finish 12-5 after starting 1-5, and
they are going to be favored.
Yeah, and his record his record's going to be 12-3
right now.
Or 12-2. No, 11-3.
They would be favored every game. Maybe they're not favored in Green Bay. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hasn't played well, right?
Right. I think he's injured, and we're about to talk about this game.
He's not running. Yeah, he's a long way from winning, which is why you see the MVP at 80-1. He would have to turn into Lamar from last year and run the table. 80-1 is just a crazy number, right?
Wouldn't to throw something at you that you often throw at us? Instead of betting this 80-1, why don't you just bet the Ravens money line each week and then just compound those wins into
because you're going to be favored by too much. It's not worth it.
Okay.
When you talk about that, that's like betting for like NCAA tournament or NFL playoffs where you're compounding and you're just taking the mechanical parlay where you're rolling over the profits. But on the money line, they're going to be minus 500 or 400 or better in multiple games.
Yeah.
Dak, where's Dak?
It's 400-1.
400-1.
That's a funny number. Yeah. Let's throw $1 on this. Win $400.
Might as well. You can't
right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just unfair to give you Stafford and Drake May at like even money. It's ridiculous.
Can I talk you into Aaron Rodgers 400-1? What number would it have to be for you bet $1?
0. I wouldn't.
4 billion to 1.
He might be out for the season. Is it possible they would give the MVP to like an Allen or Mahomes if they run the table but finish and be like the 5 seed? I don't think so.
Yeah, they'd have to win the division, I think. Because otherwise, it's going to go to Mayor Stafford, I think, right now.
It won't go to Stafford if they don't win the division.
Right. I'm just saying that, like, they would have to win the division, or it would go one of these guys. If Stafford doesn't win the division, it goes to May. And if May doesn't win the division,
if you take a look at Seattle's schedule, okay, they play Tennessee, Minnesota, Atlanta, Colts, Rams at home, Carolina, San Francisco. Darnold, who I don't care for, and obviously we saw last week how he folded against the pressure, and those picks were no fluke. Every single one of them was a Darnold mistake, throwing off his back foot. It wasn't like they were tip balls or balls that hit his receivers in the hands, whatever. There's a scenario where if Seattle wins out or wins every game, but including the Rams game, maybe they lose one other game somewhere. But they're favored in every game the rest of the season. Maybe not in San Francisco week 18, maybe. But they're playing Tennessee, Minnesota home. They're a touchdown favorite next week. They'll be double-digit favorite against Atlanta. They'll be favored at home against the Colts and Rams. There's a scenario where Darnold could continue to play well and not have what happened last week. Because I was reminded tonight, Allen last year in Houston went 9 for 30. That was his worst game of the season last year. He went 9 for 30. He was awful in that one game, but he had such an amazing season. Okay, so it wasn't a no-brainer, but him and Lamar both put up deserving MVP numbers. Darnold, who's throwing the ball, if you look at their downfield passing right now, Seattle is still number 1 in the league, 9.3 yards per attempt, which is a very big number. That's almost a full yard per attempt greater than Buffalo, who's number 3. There's a scenario where if they run the table, Darnold could be your MVP. Yeah. Now they would have to run the table, right? And you're getting 60-1, and because he's already playing like an MVP caliber quarterback, with the stats that he's putting up. So, and their run game has been terrible. Their run game is one of the worst in the league. It's a very inefficient offense right now. It's really being led by the downfield passing. Credit Clint Kubiak. So if they run the table, it's 60-1 is not bad. But again, it's too early. I wouldn't throw money on these now.
Yeah, I think you can spray a little bit on Darnold, a little bit on Lamar. I think that makes sense. I agree. I mean, Seahawks would have to run the table, but that means they'd have to beat the Rams. And we've seen Darnold against the Rams twice since January, and he's just been a train wreck against them. And this is the same guy who once saw ghosts on Monday Night Football against the Patriots defense. So, and really, look, it's never going to happen. I think the MVP of that team is Jackson Smith-Njigba, but they're obviously not going to give it to him.
No, obviously not.
Right. But if I were voting and people are like, "Oh, we're going to vote for Donald," I'm like, "No, I'm voting for Jackson Smith-Njigba here."
By the way, if Kansas City runs the table, Mahomes can have a good shot at getting it. If they run the table, they jump to 12-5. I still don't think they win the division, given Denver's pretty far ahead of them, and Denver doesn't have the hardest schedule either. I mean, they still play the Chargers, who don't have an offensive line. They play Jacksonville, who's not any good. They play the Raiders and the Redskins, who are not any good. So they have 12 wins by default, Denver. So they really just need one more win besides for the 3 default wins to lock up the division. Mm-hmm. But I can see a scenario where Mahomes now plays great down the road. Denver doesn't, and Kansas City ends up with a 12-5 record, and maybe you give Mahomes the MVP.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't. How much about Purdy? 0. Purdy's not. Stop
it. Yeah. 61 of Darnold, the best odds. Goff at 61, slightly intriguing given how strong the Lions are.
When I take these long shot bets, I always think to myself, would I book somebody else at that number? And if you said I want to take Darnold for MVP, I would never give you 60-1. That's absurd.
What would you give?
I probably wouldn't want to be in more than 20-1 basket.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So it's a good number, at least. Knicks at 60-1 is a joke.
Yeah,
exactly. Have Stafford to win 10K. Nice. May has a tough stretch coming up, hoping for a hedge. I mean,
like the hedge.
It's a little too early to hedge.
Yeah, you can't hedge because you're not between one or the other. It's not like one's minus 100 and the other's minus 200 and everybody else. I mean, it's not like the hedge right now. It's too much time.
I actually asked Andy this yesterday. I have what's his face? Emeka Buka 40-1 to win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. How would you hedge this at all? Yet? I feel like there are only 4 candidates really: Jackson Dart, Tedero McMillan, Tyler Warren, and maybe Travion Henderson. But Stevenson's coming back, so he might take some carries away from him. So
too early.
Too early. Okay.
You're halfway. I know it feels like we're so close to the end because Thanksgiving is here.
Mm-hmm.
We're only halfway home.
Yeah.
A lot's going to change in the next month.
Any chance for Baker?
No.
I don't think so. Let's go back. Baker is 100-1.
They're telling you he's got no shot.
Same odds as Jackson Smith-Njigba, 100-1. So yeah,
you always want to look for narratives, right? Like look at Herbert, 80-1, right? What's the Chargers' record right now? 7-4. 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, if the Chargers win a bunch of games and win the division, because they do play Denver again late in the season, right? That's the last game of the season.
Yeah,
they play the Raiders. I mean, they got a bunch of tough games. So Herbert theoretically could be one of those guys that if they can come back and win the division without an offensive line and Herbert plays great, Herbert becomes part of the conversation just because of the narrative. they would love to give a guy like Herbert the MVP.
Yeah.
He'd have to win the division and win 12 games or more.
Yeah.
Let's say they go 13 and what do they have now? 4 losses. If
Yeah.
they run it's too early to talk about MVPs.
Yeah, I mean, good luck with that pass protection with Herbert. Maybe hard.
Rookie of the year.
It was this Jacina Anderson in the chat. I don't know if you saw that. She blocked me, by the way. I thought for a second she was trolling, and she just blocked me. So that was very fun.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 401. People forget wins the most important stat. Anything above 4 and you're 4 losses, you're instantly out. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not this year.
Yeah, it could be a weird year. Yeah.
The top teams record wise this year are not nearly your top teams, or maybe the Rams are. Besides for the Rams,
No.
the other top teams are or Eagles also.
Yeah,
but Eagles. Hurts has like played himself out. He's been so bad.
Yeah. Chris saying the Patriots have only 2 difficult games left, so no worse than 13-4. It almost has to go to May if that's how it plays out.
Could be if they win, if they go 13-4 and get the 1 seed, very likely.
Yeah, I agree.
But I wouldn't bet it at 150.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the numbers not good enough.
No.
Okay, let's get to the games again.
There must be a lot of bad games this week. Then we spent 20 minutes talking about MVPs.
We can go to defensive player of the year, or
let's go into Jets Ravens instead.
Defensive rookie of the year. Actually, one of the listeners here has Schlesinger. He had Schlesinger at a big number. He had them 30-1. Kicking himself, I didn't bet more because he had $40
for defensive rookie of the year or defensive player of the year.
Defensive rookie of the year, Schlesinger.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
He's like by far the favorite right now.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to say defensive player of the year. No, he's got no shot because that race has pretty much been locked up by Myles Garrett. Or maybe a combination of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Barring injury, Myles Garrett is the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, minus 370.
Okay, yeah, I would bet that. Yes, I would take that.
That's basically saying that he's not going to get hurt.
Right. You're betting minus 370. He doesn't get injured. He might get 30 sacks.
It's crazy. What a terror.
By the way, he might get another 5 or 6 sacks this week.
I know. I can't wait to talk about that game, but we'll get there eventually. All right, let's get to the Jets at Ravens. This is a beauty. glad we saved up for this one. Ravens are minus 13.5. So we just talked about Lamar. He's not healthy, but it's interesting that last week he was with a knee. He was designated with a knee. He was DNP and then returned to full. This week it's an ankle, and he was DNP and now full, and we would assume full on Friday unless something weird happens. So I don't think he's healthy. Like you said, he's not running much. He ran twice last week. Yeah, the Ravens still won by 7, despite him not being healthy. And they also allowed 13 points on special teams and defense. The 2-6 on special teams, the pick 6 with Keaton Mitchell dropping the ball and having it returned for a touchdown. So I was worried about some of the other injuries here for the Ravens because yesterday we had talked about with Andy how Kyle Hamilton missed practice, Ronnie Stanley missed practice. Roquan Smith missed practice. They all returned to practice today, either limited or full. So we probably don't have to worry about them. So the Ravens should be fine with their defense and left tackle. The issue is Lamar healthy here? And if he's not, it's so difficult to bet the Ravens at minus 13.5 just because they have to cover such a big number with an injured quarterback. Just seems unlikely. Now, if Lamar is suddenly healthy this Sunday, and you just never know how that goes, then if you told me right now that Lamar's going to be 100%, I would definitely bet the Ravens. Just the Jets are just a disaster of a team. But if we see the Lamar from last week, the Ravens will probably win by like 10 or 13 points, and the Jets will hang around. Maybe Tyrod Taylor gets a late touchdown like we saw against Tampa. So, yeah, it's a tough one to handicap right now just because we don't quite know what we're going to see out of Lamar. So right now I'm leaning Jets. What do you think about this game?
You're leaning Jets. Interesting. So I thought I looked at your scores, and it was funny because I wrote 27-10, and then when I just looked at your Thursday thoughts and some of your other notes, I thought I saw you wrote 27-10 also. I'm like, oh, we have the same score in that game. That's cool. unless you wrote that a few days ago and changed your mind.
I may have changed. I may change my mind, not change the score. I'm not sure about that.
Well, either way, I don't think this is a contest pick because
No.
I wouldn't lay the 13.5 in this game, and I wouldn't take the Jets. Tyrod Taylor is not an NFL quarterback. So Fields at least has an ability to run and maybe make some plays with his legs, albeit he can't throw the ball. Tyrod can throw the ball a little bit. He can't run anymore, but he's got nobody to throw the ball to. So I don't see how the Jets score unless they get some special team scores, or unless, like what happened last week, Lamar threw a ball a little hot to Keaton Mitchell and it hit him in the hands and then was picked off. Lamar also got sacked 5 times last week, which kind of shows his lack of mobility right now. But the Jets don't really have the same pass rush as Myles Garrett and the Cleveland defensive line. So I don't think Lamar has to be super healthy in this game for them to put up 24 to 27 points. And if they get 24 to 27 points, I think they'll probably cover. A little lackluster win again last week. They held a bad offense, bad Cleveland offense, 2 for 14 on third down, 3.5 yards per play. I expect a similar outcome here. Again, barring special teams or turnovers inside deep in Baltimore zone, I really don't see how the Jets move the football. So, and Baltimore could run the ball. And Baltimore will hand the ball off to Henry. They'll hand the ball off. They'll move the chains that way. They don't have to put up 35, 38 points to cover a big number. I just think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. Another Baltimore low-scoring game. The over-under here is 44.5. I like the under in that situation. I don't think 40. I think 44.5 is probably right at the cutoff because even 27-17, you're still good. Maybe a live total on the Jets team total late in the game, or maybe even the Ravens team total if they're just running out the clock. I wouldn't lay it in a contest, but I would pick the Ravens. And this is probably, given that Thanksgiving you have to make a pick, and all along I've been saving Baltimore and Philly as my 2 Thanksgiving options. With Burrow coming back, and we said last week that if he comes back, I have no interest in Baltimore against Burrow next week. That could be a shootout. So I'm probably going to be locking in Baltimore as my survivor pick this week. I do have a couple of other options, some a little crazy, some maybe not so crazy, but I just think this is the right time. Take Baltimore, 14-point favorite, 13-point favorite, take them to win, move on, and that's pretty much all I'll have in this game.
Yeah, I'm a little worried too about the look ahead with Burrow with just 4 days in advance. So coming off a win, playing this terrible team, looking ahead, I just think it's a bad spot. But again, I can't bet the Jets here; they're just not good enough.
Right.
So first Justine Anderson played the race card, then she blocked you. Very yeah. I was like, for those of you who don't know, she went on this rant about Shtor Sanders, saying how great he was. 4 of 16, he was great. And then
Let's talk about that when we get to the Browns game.
yeah, I was for a second, I was like, yeah, I these people are insane for defending Shador, and she's like, what do you mean these people? I'm like, these people who are paid by Dion, and then she blocked me. It's so stupid. I was laughing so hard about that. Not betting either. Yeah. You can't really bet them right now. Ravens better than Seattle for Survivor.
I have more confidence in Seattle to win the game, but if you look at Baltimore's schedule and you look at Seattle's schedule, Seattle has a whole bunch of options down the road. They are a touchdown favorite next week against Minnesota. They'll be at least a double-digit favorite against Atlanta, based on what we're seeing now from Atlanta. So that's a time to maybe save Seattle if you're in one of those pools that maybe you need 2 teams, or obviously Circus Survivor, there's holiday weeks. So that would be a reason to save Baltimore for next week, depending on who else somebody might have for Circa. But I would take Baltimore this week because after this week, this is obviously by far the most I'll be favored. I would look at Pittsburgh in week 14, Baltimore, Lamar against Pittsburgh. I know we had these conversations last year when we talked about Baltimore-Pittsburgh games. Mm-hmm. Lamar dominates the Steelers. Now, Baltimore-Pittsburgh without Lamar, those are always field goal games. But with Lamar, and especially recently, those have been blowouts. So I would rather, if I had that opportunity, I would rather take Seattle week 14 against Atlanta and Baltimore here, just to kind of use the same 2 teams with the same weeks. So yeah, I would take Baltimore this week if I had both teams available.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you'd take Baltimore. Is that game in Baltimore? because it's a
Yeah,
big difference.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Week 14 is in Baltimore, and Seattle's on the road, but it is a dome, and Atlanta is done.
Yeah. Chris saying last opportunity to use the
Right.
Ravens. I think in Baltimore, like Baltimore versus Pittsburgh in Baltimore is usually a blowout if Lamar is playing, but if it's in Pittsburgh, usually close, like regardless. So,
That's
yeah,
Week 18, so
yeah,
worry about Week
right.
18 right now, Survivor. But yeah, I would definitely go Baltimore over Seattle if I had both teams, just because of the Week 14 situation.
Okay. Yeah, I think given the schedule, I agree with you. All right. So next game we have Giants at Lions. This game is Lions minus 10.5. We don't know Jackson Dart's status yet. They keep saying they're optimistic that he's going to play, but all we've seen are limited practices so far, not a full practice yet. So if he were practicing fully, I'd be like, yeah, this guy is going to play. But no limited practices means that he hasn't passed concussion protocol yet. Now maybe he will, but the fact that he hasn't been full yet just gives me concern if I were to bet the Giants in this one. Usually when quarterbacks come back from injury or come back from concussions in the first game, they usually struggle, and it's kind of easy to describe why. I mean, if their brains are scrambled, they can't really see the field correctly, right? So I like the Lions no matter what here. If Jackson Dart's playing, we haven't seen him full yet, and I'm not convinced that he's 100%. Plus, like what if he gets hit ahead again? Like it's gonna be the fifth time he's tested for concussion. You have to worry about that, and you also have to worry about the Giants potentially giving him fewer runs, just because they even said it, like they might scale back his runs just because he's been hit in the head so many times. So there's all that for the Giants, and if it's not Jackson Dart, if it's Jameis Winston again, I mean, the Packers dropped so many interceptions in that game. The Lions are a team that gets turnovers, and I feel like they would capitalize on that. And plus, this is we know how angry the Lions can get off a loss. Like Dan Campbell, great off a loss. Coming off such. It wasn't like a blowout, but it's kind of still like an embarrassing defeat on national TV. I think they'll bounce back here, despite the game coming up against Green Bay on Thanksgiving. I think if the Lions had won, this wouldn't be as great of a spot. But Lions off a loss, sign me up for that. I like Detroit a lot here, no matter who starts for the Giants. So who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I highlighted 8 games this week. 3 of them absolute definitive. This is the third of the definitive ones. We have to take the Lions here. First of all, the line is short. This line should be at least 11.5, if not higher. I have no doubt that the Lions win and win by margin. As Andy points out, 13-0 ATS run. I went back and looked at the last 10 games. Most of those 10 in the last 10 games off of a loss have been double-digit blowouts. We've been very good with the Giants all year. The Giants we said from day one, and this is why I have an under 5.5 ticket. They're going to compete, but they're not going to win games. And we had a suspicion that Dart would be in for Russ sooner rather than later. To me, in this game, I don't care who the quarterback is. Jameis last week, he did exactly what you thought Jameis would do. He threw a touchdown, he threw a pick, he threw a bunch of other balls that should have been picked that were dropped. But they're going to fight, even with lack of talent. They're going to fight. But this game is really all about the spot and the matchup. The Lions are going to run the ball down the Giants' throats. They're going to run the ball for chunk yards. Goff is off a miserable game. They went 0-for-5 on fourth down. Obviously, if they convert 1 or 2 or even 3 of those fourth downs last week, that's a very different outcome. So I would expect the Lions to bounce back in every single way. This is the perfect opponent to do it against. I think this game is going to be an absolute massacre. I think Detroit will score. I'll mark them down for a good 31 minimum. I wouldn't be surprised if they crossed 40. And that defense is pretty good. So I don't think the Giants put up 20, Jameis or Dart. So I'm looking at a 38-17 type of game, something in that ballpark, 3 touchdowns. So 10, easy pick.
Yeah, glad that you're on the same page there. Sue saying you can always look to take the Dolphins in Week 14 at the Jets. Yeah, that would be you play 13 weeks to survive 13 weeks out. Let's take the Dolphins here.
You might take the Dolphins next week, Week 13, home against New Orleans.
We'll see. We'll talk about the Saints later. Thoughts on betting the Lions team total over after league is 11 down.
Love it.
Yeah, I like that too.
What is the team total over? Let's take a look at what the over is. The over is 50, which means the Lions are probably going to be around 29.5.
I mean,
Like
this is
that.
a team that keeps its foot on the gas. Like,
I wonder what they would make the line. Would they make the line 29 and a half, 30 and a half? Andy, what do you think?
that's
29 and a half? Usually, is that out yet?
I hate it's like never. There we go. It's so difficult to find on FanDuel. It is 30 and a half.
They're smart. I even said a couple of minutes ago, I said I'd book them for 31. So, yeah, I'd like the over. I wouldn't play it pregame. I see no reason to take these types of bets pregame.
That's true.
Especially since a lot of times the first quarters usually start slow. I would wait. I would wait on that over.
Yeah.
And also, if you like the Lions to score 30 and a half points, you probably like minus 10. This is not a 13-point spread. This is a 10-point spread. I mean, even a 28-17, you're good on the spread, but you didn't hit the over-under. So I would wait on the total. I think it's right on the number, but I would look more towards the alt lines. No, Andy, project line of 30 to 10, 30 to 20, or 31-20, right?
I think that's
Sorry,
his. I think that's his
31-20, 30 to 20.
I think that's his projected line. If that's what I took from it.
No. I think he meant to write 30 to 20 because the over under is 50.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Typo. Yeah. We figured.
Okay.
That makes sense. I think you're looking here at your alts like you did against the Redskins.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get to the next game. Glad we have one down as a definite so far.
Definitive.
Yeah. All right. This is a tricky one because the quarterback situation, the Patriots at the Bengals. Patriots are minus 6.5. We don't know who's going to start for the Bengals yet. Could be Joe Burrow. Could be Joe Flacco. Interestingly enough, Burrow has been the healthier quarterback in practice. It's not even like Flacco's healthy. Flacco's been limited in both games with a shoulder. Burrow has been full in practice, and by all accounts, I'm hearing he looks fantastic. So, we thought he'd return week 13, and it could be a week sooner. So, yeah, despite I think the only thing I would worry about with Burrow is because there's another game coming up on Thursday. Maybe they take it slowly with him, but given that Flacco's injured and given how good Burrow looks in practice, I think they kind of pull the trigger and they might go with Burrow just because they lost last week. They won last week. I think they'd have the luxury of maybe waiting 5 days. But yeah, I feel like they need to get going here. They need to win out and to have a chance at making the playoffs. So I think this is going to be Joe Burrow. I love the Patriots when it was Flacco just because there's no Jamar Chase. And so Flacco's been just target chase. Like, so you take that away from him. Like, what is he going to do? Target Higgins? Like, that'll work sometimes, but it won't be that great. And then Trey Hendrickson's out. So the Cincinnati defense is already brutal with Hendrickson, even worse without him. So I was very eager to bet the Patriots here, but now there might be Burrow. Like this. If the Bengals will win, this has backdoor all over it, right? Like with Joe Burrow, like this guy always keeps games close, so we'll see what happens if Burrow's announced a starter. Hopefully we find that out before we have to submit our card. But if this is Burrow, I like the Bengals. If this is Flacco, I like the Patriots. What do you think?
I don't think you're going to know. I don't think they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
And if you do know, if they say it's Burrow, I don't think you know what to expect. So I don't see how you can play this game as a contest pick. Market right now is 6. Super contest line is 7. Circle line is 6.5. Here's the problem with New England. They can't run the football. So when you have a team that can't run the football, especially on the road, that's why a lot of these New England games, they've won close games. They beat Miami on the road by 6, right? That was early in the season, so different team, a team that's certainly on the rise. They won in New Orleans by 6. Now, you can make the argument in that game that the refs were just drunk. There were several calls in that game that were just out of control, but they still won by 6, right? The Tampa Bay game on the road, they won by 5. I mean, obviously Tampa Bay is a better team, so that's a nice win that they had. But they are still not a great running football team. And last week against the Jets, they ran for 2.4 yards per carry. So when you have a team that can't run the football, especially on the road, I have a hard time laying points, especially in the 7+ range. So if you tell me Burrow is playing in this game, even a Burrow that's not 100% or might be a little rusty, and even without Chase, that team is going to be fired up. So maybe, whereas if you watch the Bengals secondary, I mean, they refuse to tackle. Maybe with Burrow coming back, maybe they just have an inspiration to try to tackle a little bit better. Maybe the crowd's a little bit more fired up. I still think New England will win the game. I would definitely be on the Cincinnati side if it is Burrow. But again, I don't think you're going to know for sure when we have to submit the card. And even if you do know for sure, I don't think that you'll know really what you're going to get out of Burrow. He just might be rusty in the first half. Think about how Burrow is in the last couple of years in weeks 1 and 2. That's why he played in the preseason this year. So they've played some of those games early in the season where they haven't been crisp. And again, not having Chase is massive. Chase is unbelievable. Chase is a guy you could throw the ball 15, 16 times, expect him to get 10 to 12 catches, 130 to 150 yards. He's just a game breaker. So without him, he's a real difference maker. I would be a little bit more concerned without him in the game. And again, of course, their defense still stinks. So for me, this is an easy pass.
Okay. Okay. So if it's announced as Flacco, like still pass at 6.
If it's announced as Flacco, I would lean more towards New England, but I mean, you'd have to see that line like jump to like 7.5. What did I make the line with Flacco? Because I made the line originally with Flacco. Yeah, I made the line 7.5 with Flacco and no Chase.
Yeah, I made it 9.5.
I thought 7.5 was a fair number, but I still didn't like it. Now, if you told me the line was 6.5, circle line is 6.5, and the line moved to 7 or 7.5 because of the quarterback announcement, then maybe there's a little bit of value on the Pats at 6.5. But I still don't like the Pats laying points because they're a team that doesn't want to run they want to, but they can't run the football. And they're not necessarily trying to go out and get margin. And we've seen a number of times where on the road that they've struggled to cover by margin. So it's not a game that I highlighted. I have a bunch of underdogs this week that I like a lot more than New England, even if it is Joe Flacco.
Okay, yeah, I made the line 9.5, so I was pretty eager to bet the Patriots here, but then now Burrow seems more likely to play than Flacco.
Yeah, I think I do think he's going to play, and I don't think we're going to know what we're going to get from him. And I think there's just a lot of unknowns about the game, and I don't see a reason to lay 6.5 or 7 in that scenario.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. All right. Next game is Seahawks at the Titans. This line is Seahawks minus 13 or 13.5, depending on where you look. In the contest, it's 13.5 at the Circa, 13 at Westgate. This number may seem high. I don't think it's high enough. I made this line 14.5 or 15. Can't remember what exactly my line was in this game, but look, this is just such an easy matchup, I think, for Seattle. Like, it just seems so easy. It's simple. Like, Cam Ward, you've said it a million times. Cam Ward holds the ball longer than any quarterback. He takes a number of sacks for that reason.
Besides for Shador.
Sorry, for Shador, you said?
Shador holds the ball longer.
That's true. That is definitely true.
Sorry,
yeah. So anyway, we had the quarterback who holds the ball the second longest in the NFL against the team that has the most pressures per game. So Seattle's just going to be all over Cam Ward. There's going to be so many ugly sacks in this game. That's going to lead to turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, etc. Seattle's going to score some defensive touchdowns or get in a good position off a turnover to score. And then on the other side of the ball, you have Tennessee's defense, which is one of the worst in the NFL in almost every regard. Seattle will be able to score easily, as you said. You have Darnold with his downfield attack has been great. Darnold against bad defenses is just awesome the past year and a half. So Seattle coming for a loss too. So you have like the perfect marriage between spot and matchup. You know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago with the Lions coming off a loss and having the big edges in matchups against Washington. Same thing here. Seattle coming off a loss, big edges in matchups against Tennessee. I think this is Seattle minus 13.5. It's just under 14, which is a key number. So give me Seattle. I like them a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's add a couple of things. You know, last week Tennessee fought hard. They came back at the end of that game. Ward completed a bunch of passes on third down. They tied the game late, and of course they lost at the end. That's a deflating loss for a young team, a team that fought in the game, covered. They don't care if they're covering. They actually were in that game. That game was tied with 5 minutes to go, and then they lost the game. So they come to the locker room. I think there's a little bit of a letdown there. Also, they're missing a bunch of receivers. They're missing Ridley now. He's out for the year. Chimere DK, who I think is very explosive every time, because I've gone against Tennessee a bunch of times for Survivor, and DK is the guy that I always worry about. When the ball gets in his hands, whether it's a punt return or just one of those short, shallow crossing routes, DK is the guy that breaks plays, and who's going to do that now? Restrepo? I mean, you're faster than Restrepo. That guy runs like a 4.8. So I don't know if they're going to activate him. Maybe they won't. But I don't know who Ward's going to throw the ball to. You mentioned the perfect marriage of spot and matchup. Seattle last week, Darnold threw those picks with pressure in his face. When he gets pressured up the middle, he backs up and he throws the ball off his back foot. And that's what happened, I think, on 3 out of the 4 picks. He threw the ball off his back foot and he gets picked off. He's not going to face pressure this week. Tennessee doesn't. I don't know where you have Tennessee on your pressure chart. I'm guessing they're one of the lowest pressure ranks in the league. We know how bad their offense is. Their offense is of all the teams in the league, they're the only team that's less than 30% on third down conversions. So you're going against one of the top defenses off of a loss. And not only that, Seattle has won a bunch of these. They're 8-2 this year. 8-2 against the spread. 4 of the 8 wins. 8-2 straight up. 4 of their 8 wins are by 14 plus points. So they're winning games by margin. 2 of those 4 wins by 14 or more are even bigger blowouts. And they've been on the road. 2 out of the 4 blowout wins have been on the road. So, and 3 of their wins are by 21 plus. So I'm not afraid of the spread. I like the spot. I like the matchup. I think Tennessee is deflated. I think this is another where you lay the alternate at 20 because I don't think Tennessee is scoring more than 13 points, and you can mark Seattle down for 30 plus.
Yeah. Yeah. So is this how much is this definite on our card? Definite or maybe or
yeah, I had this. Well, I had the Lions number 3. This was my number 4 game.
Okay. All right. Well, given that we both like it a lot, I think we could put it down as a definite. So Seattle minus 13.5. So we have 2 definites so far. And on the screen here, you asked the pressure rates for the Titans. They have the second worst pressure rate in the NFL, 125. Well, second fewest pressures, I should say, 125. This is not updated for this week. I haven't done that yet, but heading into Texans are right here at 190. So they were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heading into this week. But keep in mind, 3 teams ahead of them had 10 games. They had 9 games. So they would be ahead of the Colts by now and the Patriots. So they'd be 6th at least. And I imagine they're going to pass some teams here. Again, this is not updated yet for last week's results. So I will be doing that soon. Okay, so let's see. Can you divulge your contest picks, Andy? I don't know if Andy wants to divulge his contest picks, but if he wants to, and I don't even know if they would be finalized yet.
I'm sure he has not finalized his contest.
Yeah. There's still a long way to go. If y'all were athletic, what sport would you play? I swam in college, so yeah, there's that.
I almost made the my college basketball team, Division 3, but I didn't. But it was close.
I did play basketball for there's an 18 and over league here, and I at the local gym, and hot dog eating, yes, yeah, maybe. I was like a 3-and-D guy. I could just shoot threes, and like I love playing defense too. So that was basically
my high school basketball. I won 3 championships my 4 years in high school. I was captain of 2 of those teams.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, I finished 3rd in a 3-point shooting contest. So go me. That's all I can do.
I still have a trophy from winning a 3-point shooting contest, which I keep in my room for some reason.
I could dribble.
One trophy in my bedroom, and it's a 3-point shootout trophy that I won. I forget when I won that. Anyway,
yeah, I couldn't dribble, I couldn't run, but I could shoot threes and I could body up people and rebound and play defense. So that was my game. But yeah, and you mentioned I could be faster than someone. I forget who you're talking about.
Restrepo. Xavier Restrepo. He ran like a 4.8 40.
My back is so bad these days that I think I'd run like an 8.84 40. Like
that's sad. I did run a sub 1200 meter, which is very fast. I could probably still run a 4.6 somewhere in that ballpark 40.
Yeah,
I'm training now to one day do Ironman.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's impressive. I'm training now to eat marshmallows.
To eat more hot dogs.
Yes, hot dogs and marshmallows. Yes, that is on training. By the way, I also sprained my ankle. See, I sprained my ankle last Saturday. This is the rough shape I'm in. I was just walking my daughter to the car. I was just holding her. I didn't notice that the sidewalk ended and I stepped into the street. My ankle went. I was like, oh my god, I was in
That's
such
terrible.
pain.
You can't sprain your ankle walking into the street.
Well, it's you think I'm faster than Restrepo, and I'm just telling you, like, I'm
You
definitely
mentioned
not.
you swam in college, so the swim is the
Yeah,
hardest part. I just got up to 1.2 miles on the swim, which is the half iron
yeah,
distance.
yeah.
And this week I did a 36-mile bike ride, which is not bad. And then I've done a bunch of half marathons though so
Mm.
far. So I like to pretend that if I were like 6'4", 6'5" range, that I would have been good enough to play real college basketball. But alas, at 5'10", that was not
We're,
the case.
we're about the same height. I'm like 5'9". Yeah. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I can't do anything. Walt will play golf or put in his jogging schooling. Yeah, I took jogging classes. School. We talked about that yesterday. Yeah, I can't play golf. My back is so bad. Actually, my wife was one Christmas, or I think it was around Christmas. She was like, "What do you want? What do you want for the holidays?" She's like, "We want golf clubs." I'm like, "I don't know if my back could handle it." She's like, "Take a practice swing, like just in the air." And I took the practice swing, and I was like, "Oh my god, my back." So that wouldn't work out well. So solitaire. There you go. Finished five straight times playing solitaire. Nice. Video
I
games.
thought Andy was going to say that he takes his car to the F1 track this
No, my
weekend
God.
or next weekend.
That's awesome. That'd be funny. No, I video games would be for me, I guess, because even though that's not a fact, but I was the world record holder for Choco Island 1 in Super Mario Kart for Super Nintendo, the unofficial world record holder, because Nintendo Power they published the world records for each course. This is the Super Nintendo game back in like '94, and I remember like I'm great at Choco Island 1. I could beat this time. And I for 2 days I just did the time trial, and after 2 days I beat the record. I submitted my time to Nintendo Power, but they didn't publish it. So it's like, I don't know, maybe someone else beat it too. So that's why I say unofficial world record holder, but I beat the world record. So go me, I guess.
Then you walked outside and sprained your ankle walking up.
That's true. Yes, it's a sad state of affairs. And he would stay as far away as possible from F1. Yeah, I would too. I don't. I don't know. It's scary to drive that fast. Anyway,
I thought about going to Vegas for that. I actually booked flights and a room for next week, which I recently canceled because my wife decided she didn't want to go to sit in the sports book and watch sports for a couple of days. She didn't find that appealing. She's like, "It's not hot now. The pools are closed. What are we going to do?" I said, "We're going to sit in the sports book." What do you mean? The pools at Circa Stadium Swim are 95 degrees. Beautiful at Stadium Swim. So I unfortunately canceled my Wednesday night flight, and I won't be going to Vegas next week. But I would love to go to see that F1. The F1, the way they do it on the streets over there, it's super cool. I know the locals don't want to go because the traffic is madness. So somebody like Andy, and he's probably not going to see this trip for 2 weeks.
Well, the traffic's always madness there.
Not like F1.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's worse, but I'm just saying. Like,
crazy.
The first time I went to Vegas, my wife and I rented a car. It was like the biggest mistake ever. It was like driving there is just the disaster. So any F1 bets on? I couldn't name a single person F1. So you're asking the wrong person there. I'm sure you can ask the ChatGPT to give you some picks, I guess. That maybe that'll work. Anyway, let's get to the next game, which is Vikings at the Packers. Packers are winning 6.5. Andy asked me an interesting question yesterday. He's like, outside of quarterback, where are the Packers better than the Vikings? And you point to Micah Parsons, but really, like, if you go down the roster and injure Josh Jacobs, you can't even say running back, receiver. Obviously, the Vikings are better. Offensive line, now that they're healthy, the Vikings are better. And then linebacking core, Vikings, I think pretty close. Secondary, I'll give to the Vikings as well. So the Vikings look good, except for the fact that if you bet them, you have to bet on JJ McCarthy, which is, that's an adventure on its own. But JJ McCarthy did cover against the Lions in Detroit. He actually won outright. And this is a Green Bay team that really struggles to win by margin. They didn't even win by margin against the Giants. Like come on. And they could have. Like if they just caught some of those, Jameis Winston should have been interceptions. Like they're sailed into their hands. They dropped them. And then if Romeo Doubs had caught some of those passes they dropped, or there are some other drops in this game, I can't remember who dropped them specifically, but the Packers just couldn't quite get there. But they still won the game, so it's not a great spot, especially with Detroit coming up in 4 days. I expect the Packers to be a little flat here. And also, remember, if you're worried about betting McCarthy, and that is a concern, just worry about Jordan Love too against Brian Flores. Last year against Brian Flores, Jordan Love really struggled twice. If you look at the stats, that may say otherwise, because in the first game he threw 4 touchdowns, but in that game, I believe he was down 28. Yeah, he was down like 28-0. So you can't take that one seriously. In the second game, he was throwing off his back foot like crazy. Like he was just confused the entire game. So I like Minnesota here. I'm a little worried about betting McCarthy, because if you bet him, he throws the pick 6 right away. You're like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Why did I do this? But I think Minnesota is the play here. How do you feel about this game?
Totally agree. I love Minnesota in this game. Now, we were on Minnesota last week. It was my number 1 pick on the board, and they were very, very disappointing, really, because McCarthy was a joke. He was terrible. It was the second time in the last 3 games where I had the pleasure of rewatching it with Brady on the call. Now, Brady is no Greg Olson as a color analyst, but at least he knows what he's looking at with quarterbacks. So he's calling out all the mechanical flaws in McCarthy's game. I don't know. Did you call him JJ McCarthy, or did you call him 9? Because I think he calls himself 9. McCarthy. And what Brady was pointing out, and this really affects the accuracy, is that he doesn't get his hand over the ball, for whatever that means, and he doesn't throw with any touch. So when he throws the ball on a 3rd and 7 or a 3rd and 8, you call it 3rd and medium, and Jefferson is wide open, squaring out to the sideline, 9 sails the ball over his head. And when he throws the ball deep, he doesn't throw with any touch, so he's throwing the ball long. And sometimes those long passes over the middle, and he likes to attack the middle of the field, unlike he throws 10, 15 yards over the middle with reckless abandon. That's a big problem. These things have to be fixed, and they're not going to be fixed now during the season. These are things that need to be fixed in the offseason. And maybe he will, maybe he won't. So now you talk about roster construction. You're right. Minnesota's better at every single position except for quarterback, and the quarterback's not that much of a difference because Love is not that great. When I make my power ratings, I have the Packers number 11. I have the Vikings number 17. So I get it. Packers are a better team. I'm not disputing that. But I only have them 2.5 points difference. And then when you put, obviously in Green Bay, add some points for home field. So maybe I make it up to like 4.5, and then 4.5s because it's a divisional game, and because anything in my model between 3.5 and 7 drops by half a point. I make the line 3.5. When I see 6.5, I'm shocked. 6.5 is ridiculous. Green Bay this year is 3-7 against the spread. They're 0-6 against the spread on 6.5 points or better. And they're losing some of those games. They lost to Carolina outright. They lost to Cleveland with a 10-point lead outright. They almost lost to Jameis Winston last week. They were trailing 2019 with 5 minutes to go. Yeah. So this is not a team that's getting margin. And their offense is not good enough to get margin because Minnesota's defense is good enough to keep them close. Spot-wise, Minnesota off that really bad loss, their season's on life support right now. So they have to come in and wake up. They have to be a little bit more creative or maybe conservative offensively, not to throw the mistakes. I think the Packers win this game. I certainly think Minnesota can win this game. I wouldn't be laying money lines or 6-point teasers with Green Bay, but I'm absolutely not laying 6.5. If this were 3.5, I would still like Minnesota because I think this is a field goal game either way. I don't see how this line is 6.5. To me, it makes absolutely no sense. Unless 9 literally throws the game away, but 9 has shown that he can fight back. There's no way they're going to give up. So if they're down 14 or 10, they may score a backdoor. So your backdoor is also open. I love the Vikings here. I like this team better. I like this game better than I like the Detroit to win by a large margin. So 6.5. And we were on Green Bay last week. We were on Minnesota last week. Obviously very disappointed with Green Bay's performance. They ended up pushing for us. But I just don't understand how this line can be 6.5. Makes no sense.
We're in agreement. Is this your first or second?
This is my second.
Second. Okay. I'm excited to hear what the first is. But yeah, so we can put this as a definite on the card because I like them too. So coaching edge to the Vikings, Andy says. Yeah, I like Kevin O'Connell a lot. I do like LaFleur too. So I don't think it's a big edge, but I was
A divisional game, the teams know each other.
Yeah.
I think this game is going to be very close. I think this is going to be a very, very good game. This might be one of the better games at 1:00. Obviously, given we've seen some 13-point spread, so it's not hard to predict that this game might be one of the better games. But I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great finish. I think both defenses will show up. I don't think you'll get this is. I don't think this is a 31-28 game. I think this is more like a 23-20 game. I don't see any real weather issues. I think it looks like, at least on the advanced weather forecast, looks like it's going to be mid-40s. It says slight chance of rain, but honestly, I think rain might help Minnesota more because Josh Jacobs is hurt. Yeah. And maybe that leads to more of a conservative game plan with running the football. So if you have a more of a conservative, lower scoring game, that leans more towards the dog at 6.5. The line is only 41.5. It's a low total.
Yeah. I would say deservedly so. Added edge with Flores is DC. Yeah, that's 100% true. So we're in agreement here. Minnesota should be on our card. So we have 3. And we're looking for 2 more. So, as you said, that's one of the better games at 1:00. This, I would say, most people would say is the best game at 1:00. The Colts at the Chiefs. Chiefs are -3.5, which kind of surprised a lot of people. Like it's everyone I listen to, and I mention this all the time. I listen to like random football podcasts. Like I don't even know what some of them are because it's like if I'm walking the dog or if I'm picking up my son from daycare, just driving around, I'll listen to just random shows on YouTube. And I swear I've heard multiple people go, I can't believe the Colts are underdogs against the Chiefs. It reminds me of earlier in the year when the Lions were underdogs against the Chiefs, and people said the same thing. I think a former NFL player, I don't know who it was, but he tweeted out, he's like, what does FanDuel know that we don't? What the Lions are underdogs to the Chiefs. And this is kind of like the same situation. Look, the Chiefs are 5-5, but their last 2 losses, they lose to Buffalo in a close game, and they lose to Denver in a very close game at Denver. And it's like no shame in losing these games. Like the Chiefs are a team that went 5-1 in 6 games after their 0-2 start when they got some of their players back, like Xavier Worthy, for example, and then they got Rashee Rice back. They pass protect well. I don't know why Mahomes is not running. The past 2 games, he's only scrambled 1 time. I kind of wonder if Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to look at that and be like, let's start scrambling again, especially now that they're 5-5. If Mahomes does that, I think the Chiefs have a very good chance of covering the spread. The Colts are not going to have DeForest Buckner. It's a huge loss in the interior of the defensive line. Chiefs are going to have Pacheco back, so I think he's better than Kareem Hunt at this point. You can argue that, but like still, they get another piece back to their offense, and I think off 2 losses in a row, you're going to see the Chiefs in desperation mode. So the spot certainly favors them, I would think. The matchups. You could argue the Colts have been great this year. They run the ball well. The Chiefs don't stop the run all that well. So the matches don't necessarily favor the Chiefs, but I do think the Chiefs covered the spread. I'm not excited to see 3.5, but I think that's a bullish indicator on them because the public would still bet the Colts at +3. So like they're going to bet at +3.5. So what are your thoughts on this game? So I like the Chiefs here, but not like by a huge amount.
So it's interesting again because I just looked at your score and I thought you wrote 24-23, which is kind of what I think. I think this game is a 1-score game. I think this game is a field goal game. So if you gave me 3.5, I'd be on the Indy side. Now the spot screams for Kansas City, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. Season again now is getting away from them after back-to-back losses, especially against some of the top teams. They need to start winning football games, and this year they're 0-5 in these 1-score games. Is that an aberration? Is that something fundamentally wrong? They were not good last week on 3rd down. They did not execute. They took some sacks on 3rd and long, which they normally don't. Obviously, we know how good Denver's defense has been, but they didn't execute. Here's the problem matchup-wise. They're not good against the run. They're a middle-of-the-pack team against the run, and now you're talking about winning by a margin where the Colts are going to be able to run the football, and the Colts will get Tyler Warren in space for medium range. They're going to run that little boot action that they run to him. He's going to pick up those 8 to 12-yard catches. And if Jones doesn't turn the ball over, and again, these are big ifs because obviously turnovers will change everything. But if neither team turns the ball over, I think this game is going to be a field goal game. Now, this year, if you say, no, I like the Chiefs to win, and therefore they're going to win by margin because they don't win close games this year. It's the complete opposite of last year. I just don't know if I buy that going forward. I think Kansas City will start to find a way to win close games, including this game. So if you ask me who I think is going to win the game, I think Kansas City will find a way to win by a field goal. So I wouldn't lay 3.5. If you gave me 3.5, I like the Colts. Now the Super Contest line is 3, so I don't really like anything at 3. Circle line's 3.5, so I lean towards the Colts at 3.5. But it sounds like you're obviously on the other side, so I wouldn't. I wouldn't put the Chiefs on the card. No way.
Yeah, I know that I changed this one. I initially said Colts, and I went to the Chiefs for my Thursday thoughts. I guess I didn't change the final score, but I'm on the Chiefs now instead.
You know, to me, I think this game is going to come down to red zone. If Chiefs win by margin, to me it'll be because the Chiefs are, and both teams have been great in the red zone. The Colts are number 3 at 68%. Chiefs are number 7 at 65%. So that's really where this game is going to be won or lost, or won by margin. We saw if the Chiefs can't score touchdowns, and they didn't last week, kicked a bunch of field goals. And then, of course, they got a touchdown and missed the extra point, which was huge. So if they're settling for field goals and the Colts are getting touchdowns in the red zone because they're able to run the football, and I think red zone is big when you're able to run the ball. And that's my concern for the Chiefs. If the Colts get down there, they'll be able to put the ball in the end zone, and the Chiefs are going to have to match. And if they do, and this game, they find themselves like last week in a tie game late, I think the Chiefs will perform and execute and do what they need to do to win the game by 3. But if you're telling me that I have to lay 3.5, no desire. The spot, we know. Everybody knows. It's all Chiefs. And I don't know who's saying before, like, oh, why are the Colts underdogs? The Colts should be underdogs. But if the line were pick 'em, yeah, I'm on the Kansas City side. 3.5, I'm on the Indy side. At 3, I think the Chiefs win by a field goal. So I wouldn't bet it.
Yeah, I mean, talking about average Joe Schmo,
Indy lost to Pittsburgh in its last road game because they had 6 turnovers. And that's the great equalizer across the league, is if you can handicap the turnovers, you're a multimillionaire betting NFL. Mm-hmm. So, and Kansas City had those same, unlucky turnovers against Jacksonville. So if Kansas City catches a pick that was popped up in the air, they win that game by margin. If they don't throw a 99-yard pick six, they also win the game by margin. So there's a lot of luck and a lot of bounces that go that way. But I just worry that Kansas City won't be able to stop the run in the red zone, which is why I think this game is going to be like a 27-24 type of field goal back and forth game.
Yeah, it could certainly be close. So, I don't love this one, and I don't know if it's going to make my card. I don't think it will. But yeah, anyway, we can go to the 4:00 games here. Jaguars are at the Cardinals. Jaguars are -3. This line seems outrageous to me. I don't understand why it's so off. I consider these teams even. Like, they're so close to me in my power rankings. The Jaguars have gotten so lucky this year, and they're 6-4. Cardinals are 3-7. So, like, to the average Joe Schmo who thinks the Colts should be favored of the Chiefs, they're looking at this line saying, yeah, of course, Jaguars should be favored of 3, or maybe even more, because Arizona's 3-7. But Arizona lost 5 games in the final seconds, and really, if variance went their way, they would have a much better record than 3-7. Like, this feels like this team should be like 5-5 or something, like, because they're 20th in offense and 12th in defense. Like, that says average to me. The Jaguars are worse in both. They're 21st in offense and 21st in defense. So you get this team coming off a win, a blowout win, nonetheless, as an overrated favorite on the road against an Arizona team that is underrated and coming off 2 losses in a row, 2 blowout losses against divisional opponents. If they think they can make the playoffs, like, they have to win this game. Like, they're 3-7. They're probably out of it, but who's to say they can't run the table? So I at least to them, the players are always going to be overconfident. So Arizona's injuries are the only question marks, and at the beginning of the week, it looked a little bleak. Like, Jonah Williams didn't practice, Will Johnson didn't practice on Wednesday, but Will Johnson returned to a limited basis on Thursday, which is a big deal because he's their top corner. Whereas Jacksonville, we still don't know what's going on with their receiving core. Trevor Lawrence can be a disaster. And I just don't know what the Jaguars do well outside of generate pressure on the outside. And the Cardinals have 2 good tackles. Now, Jonah Williams is out, then they're going to be down 1, but still they have Paris Johnson, who's been stellar this year. So, given that Brissett's been an upgrade over Kyler Murray against bad teams, I think Arizona's the play here. How do you feel about this game?
I wouldn't touch this game. I wouldn't tease this game. I wouldn't touch this game. I think these teams are very close together. I have Jaguars at number 19. I have Arizona number 21. I have the Jaguars a point better, which means this game should be pick 'em or -1 either way. So yeah, you're right. Why are Jacksonville -3? 2.5 maybe makes sense. I still believe the Jacksonville, when you throw out their international loss, that's the only game they really got blown out in because international games just don't count. So they've been lucky, but slightly more consistent. Arizona, obviously very inconsistent. They looked great against Dallas. They were awful last week. They were awful the week before. So back-to-back blowout losses. I feel like this line should be more of like a pick 'em, so something under 3. But I just trust Jacksonville a little bit more in this spot. I think there's too many injuries on Arizona's side. I don't think Harrison really matters. You saw last week, Michael Wilson had 185 yards receiving. Granted,
Yeah.
it was pretty much the entire game in garbage time. I wouldn't bet either side of this game. I don't know how one can make a strong conviction. I think both of these teams are way too confusing for me. I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to be betting on Brissett. So for me, easy pass.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be on Arizona. Maybe on my card as the fifth spot. I think after my Tuesday picks, after I posted my picks on Tuesday, I think I had Arizona as my number 6 team. But given that the New England pick is going to be voided by Burrow's return potentially, Arizona might sneak in as the fifth team here. I'm just eager to fade Trevor Lawrence on the road as a favorite, coming off a blowout win. That was, I don't know. It's Jaguars suck. Like they 35 to 6.
That's what you said. You said it. That's why the line moved the way it did. Jacksonville's
Yeah.
off a blowout win, Arizona's off a blowout loss, and the line moves accordingly, right?
Right.
It shouldn't move accordingly. At 2.5, I think it's a fair line. The Super Contest has a line at 2.5, where I really wouldn't touch the game. If you made it 3, I'd obviously take +3, but I wouldn't like it. I don't like either side.
Yeah, I made this
don't
line.
know why you'd want to bet on Brissett in this game or on Lawrence in this game.
So Brissett's been good. Brissett's been good.
Yeah, Brissett's been fine. He's been fine.
I think he's been better than Lawrence.
Well, the Niners have 0 pass rush, so they let him sit back there and bake a cake. I mean, he got it all the time in the world last week.
I mean, even before last week, I think, and before the Seattle game, like I think against mediocre to bad defenses, he's been pretty good. And Jacksonville's 21st in defense, so should be good this week, I think. Whereas like Trevor Lawrence against the 12th defense in the NFL, I think he's not going to play as well, and he hasn't played well this year anyway.
Yeah, I have Jacksonville's number 19, so slightly below average defense.
Yeah, I made this line Arizona -1.5, so I'm looking at this like 4.5 points off to me.
Right, but when you're going to 1.5 to 1.5, those 3 points don't really make a difference, right?
That's true, but you still get the 3, which is the key.
Right, you're getting 3. If you're getting +3, I hear the argument. I just don't have any interest in it.
All right. We will move on to the game of the week.
Talk about a game you have no interest in, other than comedy.
Oh, I can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah,
I can't wait. This is going to be a comedy show, not an NFL game. Browns at the Raiders. The Raiders are -4. It's still 3.5 at DraftKings. If you have any interest in the Raiders and you want to bet them there, you can get 3.5 -112. I don't have interest in the Raiders because they are a horrible team coming off a short week. Monday Night Football, teams that play on Monday Night Football, they're horrible. The next week they usually like do very poorly. Just because when you're a bad team, you need all the time you can get to prepare, and the Raiders need that time. Like they can't do anything well outside of rush the passer with Crosby. They can't block at all, neither run blocking nor pass protection. Geno Smith just throws interceptions. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. It's just Crosby really for this team. And Bowers catching passes over the middle of the field. That's it. But if you want to take the Browns, you got to go with Shedeur Sanders, who's might be the worst quarterback we've ever seen in our lives. He is just a guy who just drifts back in the pocket. That's it. I saw someone on Twitter say Shedeur Sanders or the Raiders might set the NFL record for sacks in a single game in this game. And with Crosby going against Shedeur. And if that happens, I would not be surprised. Shedeur is just so bad. Now, the one thing that could help the Browns here, there are 2 things. One is that, and Andy mentioned this yesterday, of the 4 units, Browns offense and defense, Raiders offense and defense, like the unit by far that is the best is Browns defense. Like there's no question about that. And the second thing is if the Browns defense can do enough and like the Browns like kick a field goal here and there, like maybe they get a turnover, maybe Judkins breaks a long run and they're up like 6-0 or 10-3. then they could just sit on the ball and not have Shador throw. And like I think that is the easiest way to victory here for the Browns. And that seems like feasible. So I think the Browns are the play here. I had this game 10-6. So when this line was -3 earlier, I was like on the Raiders, but now that it's 4, I think I would maybe side with the Browns. I don't know. I don't know how to play this game outside of under, maybe under. I have this, like I said, I have this projected 10-6, so maybe I'll go under. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this game?
13-10, 10 to
Nice.
7, 9 to
Yep.
6.
Yep.
3-0.
3-0. Yeah.
0.
4-2. 6. Oh wait. The Penn State Iowa game in 2004 that I watched 6-4. Maybe we'll see that.
What you do in this game is you find wagers on total number of punts. You bet the defensive score yes for both teams, and you parlay them, and you probably get a crazy payout. This is not an NFL game. Both offensive lines are absolutely dreadful. I sent you some clips of the Raiders' offensive line blocking.
Yep.
Like, they're not blocking, so I don't know what they're going to do against Garrett. I don't know what Shador holds the ball too long. That's the bottom line. Last week, Dylan Gabriel didn't get pressured, but then when Shador comes in, he's pressuring every single down, every single dropback. The guy was pressured 10 times on 16 dropbacks. He was 0 for 7 passing with a pick and an intentional grounding. He's not even close to some of these throws. He's just running 15 yards deep, and he's holding the ball for an average of over 3 to 3.5 seconds per dropback, which in the NFL is an eternity. So he is holding the ball too long. And on the other side, the Raiders don't have an offensive line. So I don't see how either team moves the football. So if you want to pull up FanDuel and see, I'm curious to see what the odds are for defensive score. If you take both teams to get a defensive score, you're probably in the 5-1, maybe plus 550, plus 600 range. And if you parlay them, you might be getting some major payout. By the way, I do this in
Raiders defense are Raiders are plus 850. Okay. The Browns are 10-1.
Oh, beautiful!
So parlay 134-1. Put a nice 10. Put a nice,
right. So let me teach you a trick, because you've told me a few times, and I appreciate it. That thank you for teaching me how to fish. So for those who don't know, I do a lot of live betting, and we learn about unders in WNBA games late, or really any college basketball game. Overs in tournament games when the game is between like 7 and 15 points, we just pound overs. We talk about quarterback rushing yards when we have mobile quarterbacks who are behind. In the Super Bowl, we find these bets where you could take the defensive score, and then you find another bet in the props, and you're not going to have it on a regular season game, but will there be a defensive score? We take the no, right? And we lay whatever we're going to lay. And then you guarantee a profit, because the lay on that, let's say it's like minus 300 or something. But now you're getting 10-1 and 8-1. And then if you hit one of them, you're in business, you've profited. And if you hit both of them, you just have a massive, massive payout. And if you hit none of them, you're covered. Either you have a small profit, like a minimal profit, or you break even. So I don't know if there's a prop somewhere that you could find, will there be a defensive score? Yes, no. And you play the no, like minus whatever that number is. And then you kind of guarantee yourself somewhat of a profit there. But I love the defensive score because, first of all, it's anytime touchdown. So you're looking at either a pick six, you're looking at a sack in the end zone where one of them could fumble, or obviously a scoop and a score on a sack fumble. I mean, there might be a lot of sacks in this game. So if somebody just puts the ball on the ground and it's returned for a touchdown, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Crosby last week sacked Dak. Caused a fumble back where the Raiders ended up getting a 3-and-out and kicking a field goal. But the ball is on the floor. There's a chance for the defense to pick it up and run it in. So I don't think this counts as special teams. So sometimes you got to pay attention.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you have to look for special team scores. It's not fantasy, where if you get a punt return or a kick return for a touchdown, that actually does not count. So make sure you read your rules and read your betting correctly, so that you know where your hedges could be. Because if you bet yes, no on the special teams or defensive score, and special team scores, but defense doesn't, then you lose everything. So make sure you pay attention to the language. But I really like the defensive scores here as a potential bet. You said, what is it, $50 pays $6,700?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely worth a play on the parlay and the individual bets. Absolutely worth a play.
I love it. I love it. That's gonna be so fun to
And
root
what's the
for.
over under in the game?
Let's see. The over under is 36.5.
Right. So you play the under, and you're figuring the way to lose that is either defensive scores or, unfortunately, defensive scores that set up the touchdown.
Mm.
So that could happen. That could burn you. But I would be looking to play live half by half. I would be looking first half under, first half team total under, late game situation or late half situation unders. And then you could watch this game with a laugh because every time Shador goes back to pass and gets sacked, the clock is running, and then they punt, and it's just going to be a game of punts. So I would be on the Brown side plus the 4 going back to the spread. This line went high because Shador is so bad. The line should be 2.5. Makes no sense. I said as a joke to one of my partners who's a huge Raider fan, I said, so Raiders survivor? He didn't respond. So I don't remember what he said, but he didn't respond to the Raiders survivor. That's obviously not going to happen. That's how bad the Raiders are. You can't even consider them for a survivor here in this spot. So defensive game, defensive scores, that's the way to play the game. Put $150 out, $50 on each, you're half a unit, whatever your unit is, on each thing. If you get one defensive score, now you're in business. Now you're going to be real excited about that 135-1. Oh man, I hope we hit that. That'd be great.
Oh my God, that'd be great. Yeah,
A couple $1,000 right there on comedy.
That'd be incredible.
And you're going to say, well, I really hope this Browns team makes the playoffs so we can watch the door in the playoffs.
I'd love that. It's it's like it's dinner and a show, right? You get your money and you get a laugh. It's like it's perfect. Like why would you not want the Browns in the playoffs?
I like that 10-1. Yeah, I'm putting that in right now.
Nice.
Yeah, you have to put that in right now. Everybody should go do that right now.
Yeah, I will be doing that as well.
If you get these tokens, use a token on it too.
What token?
Like a 30% profit boost of some sort.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure.
Profit boosts, you can even knock that up even more.
Yeah.
FanDuel has the line at 3.5, by the way, not 4. But even
looking at the screen. 3.5 minus 118 is the same as DraftKings. So interesting that some of these have 4, but
850 and 10-1. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
I see it. Amazing.
That is awesome. All right, let's get to a real football game. Well, I mean, this is not a real game either. The Falcons are at the Saints. The Saints are now 2 or 2.5. What are they in the contest? They are 2.5 at the Circa, 2 at the at the Falcons. What are the Falcons in the
they're favored by 2.5.
The Saints
in the 2.5, Super Contest 1.5.
Saints are minus 1.5 in the Westgate.
Saints are 1.5 in the Westgate. Yes.
Okay. I wrote it down wrong because I wrote down Falcons minus 1.5 at the Westgate. So yeah, I was like that doesn't seem right. Okay. Anyway, I like the Saints here. The Falcons are just they just talk about a team that's collapsing. Kirk Cousins stepped in for Penix, and the Falcons are going to win last week, but Penix got hurt. London got hurt. The team had severe jet lag too. It didn't help because for some reason they didn't take the bye after playing in Germany. The 11-hour flight did not do well for them. Kirk Cousins looks so decrepit right now. Drake London not being there, that means Darno Mooney and Kyle Pitts are his top weapons. And not only that, the offensive line is a big concern as well. They were already missing 2 linemen with Bergeron, the right guard, and the right tackle has been out all year. But Chris Lindstrom, we talked about this last week. Like Lindstrom, he's not healthy at all. Like he's just like hobbling out there. He's their best lineman. He's an all-pro guard. So he's going to keep playing. I mean, he's DMP limited so far. So he's going to take the field, but he's not himself either. So this Falcons team can't protect. The Saints, they don't have the best pass rush or anything, but they can at least stop the run. And I think that with 3 injured linemen, the Falcons just feels like they're not going to run the ball that well against the Saints. Whereas we know the Saints are going to run the ball because the Falcons have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. So Kamara's going to have a good game here. Taysom Hill gets some yardage. That set up some nice opportunities for Chuck. And the Saints have had such a tough schedule too. Like that, they have an awful record. Obviously, 2-8. But they played tough against some of these good teams that they played against. Like for example, the Bills. They hung around in that game. They had a chance to take the lead if Cooks didn't drop the touchdown. They kept the Niners game close, the 5-point game when the Niners still had Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Patriots game, there were some bad calls, but that was still a 6-point game. So look at the opponents they played: Buffalo, the Rams, Niners, Patriots, Buccaneers, Seahawks. Like they've played a lot of tough games, and they've only played 2 games against teams worse in Group C. They played against the Giants and they played against the Panthers. They won both those games by double digits. So given that this is their third, I guess, easy game so far, and I would say this easy game because the Falcons are so banged up, that I think the Saints look good here. I think it's saying a lot that they moved from underdogs to favorite. It looks like the sharp money is on the Saints, and rightfully so. I like the Saints. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's really one thing to add, because it's not for me about the matchup. For me, it's about the mentality. And you have a team that's off of an upset win and a bye. Young team finally got a win. And Atlanta's the other way, right? Mm-hmm. They're so deflated. The season's now over. They know it. They're coming off back-to-back overtime games, plus the travel spot that they had last week, right? So they come back on an 11-hour flight off an overtime loss, which pretty much ended their season. Mm-hmm. They blow a 14-point lead last week, which all but ends their season. And their quarterback, who stinks, gets hurt. And now they have a geriatric quarterback who comes in who can't throw. And that's a problem. Cousins is a statue in the pocket. At least Justin Fields can run. At least, who do you want to throw out there that can move around a little bit with his legs? Maybe Shador can run, can do something with his legs. Kirk Cousins can't run. Kirk Cousins can't throw. And now and there's no Drake London to throw to. So I think there's a mentality, there's a letdown where the team just won't show up, and I can see them getting absolutely blown out in the game. Like, I wouldn't tease the Falcons getting 7.5 in this game. Now, obviously, I don't want to lay points with the Saints, but this line flipped for obvious reason. It's rightfully so. I think the Saints win the game by 7 to 14 points. The Saints are borderline to make my card. I kind of flip-flop with them and somebody else that we'll talk about, but I do like the Saints. I could see us putting them on the card, even though they are the Saints. And this is the other team that I said, crazy to think about Survivor. Yeah. You sneak the Saints through, you're in business. This is a great. If I had multiple entries in Circa, I would absolutely consider the Saints in one of my entries. Now, I always say this: where do you feel stupid if you lose? Because if I play the Saints and they don't show up, and the Falcons defense shows up, and Bijan goes bananas with 150 to 200 yards rushing, you know what I like in this game? I like Bijan catches, receiving yards, and receptions, because Cousins, if you think back to the days where Drew Brees was done, what did he do? He dumped the ball off to Kamara like 30 times a game, right? Yep. Every pass was a pass to Kamara. Guy would have 14 targets. I think Bijan in this type of game, because I don't think the Saints are going to run away with a game. I don't think this game is 38-3. This game might be 20-3, and Cousins will have the ball. He won't want to get hit. He's going to have to drop back to throw. And who's he throwing the ball to? Algier is not their third down receiving back. Bijan's going to get those catches. So the way the Falcons win, the game script for the Falcons, and I don't know if they have a game script because their coach is Raheem Morris, but if they had a game script, it would be, hey, my quarterback can't throw 8 yards down the field. My quarterback can't move. Let's get the ball out of his hands immediately. There's no Drake London, so I don't know who he's throwing to. I think Bijan is a big-time play. And again, I would look more in-game at this, because if you see them behind and you see Bijan getting a bunch of catches early, that's the game script. So he might get, 5.5 receptions? So if he has 3 catches in the first half or 4 catches in the first half and it's a close game, I would absolutely continue to live bet Bijan over catches, Bijan over receiving yards, Bijan receiving plus rushing ladder. We've talked about the ladder before. Another time, we try to teach the man to fish. We can ladder Bijan all the way to the end of the game, where he can break a run. He'll be the focal point of that offense on a fast track. So I like the Bijan stats, but I like the Saints to win. So yeah, I could see this being on our card, but I think in game might be better opportunities for the Bijan props.
I like it. Yeah, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. All right, I'm gonna put it down as a maybe for us. So we have three definites and a maybe right now. And let's get to the final game here of the 4 o'clock slate. The Eagles at the Cowboys. This line has moved down in a lot of the books. It was 3.5 to start. Now it's 3, and you can still get some 3.5. So you have to pay Vig at
Is it
minus.
3? Where is it 3?
Bet 365, BetMGM, DraftKings,
Oh wow,
Caesars.
I see. Circa and Westgate both have 3s now. Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, looks like sharp
Three,
money
three across the
coming.
board.
Yeah, you can still get you have to pay 3.5 minus 122 FanDuel, 3.5 minus 118 at Bet Rivers. It looks like that's the best one for 3.5. And 118 is definitely worth paying for the 3. If you like Dallas here, and I do like Dallas. Lane Johnson's out, and there are some crazy splits the Eagles have with and without Lane Johnson, and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, just whether it's Jalen Hurts or Nick Foles or Carson Wentz. When Lane Johnson has been in, they have been so much better. When he's been out, their offense is fallen apart. And they got a Dallas defense that still is not going to be that good, but it's gotten a lot better with Quinn Williams had a sack and a half on Monday night. Logan Wilson had some tackles. He's going to be good against the run. So this is not one of the worst defenses in the NFL anymore. I said like last week, I'm like, if Williams and Wilson get them like 21st or 20th, I think that's got to be a win for now. And so I think Dallas should be able to hold down the Eagles offense, which like hasn't been that good anyway. So it feels like Dallas should be able to keep this game close. Now, I don't really trust Dallas's offense against the Eagles' great defense. So I think this is going to be low scoring. And usually when Dak Prescott is playing, the Eagles have a very tough time in Dallas. They have a very, very difficult track record there. 7 out of the last 8 games between these teams have gone to the host, with the exception being last year when Dak Prescott was out, it's Cooper Rush, and Dallas got blown out. But if it's Prescott, Dallas is going to be very difficult to win, to beat for the Eagles. And look, I think there's a chance the Cowboys win this game outright. Eagles coming off a couple of national TV wins against the Packers and the Lions. And yeah, this is a rivalry game, but still not the best spot for them. And Dallas is fighting to get to 500, maybe make a playoff run with their new defensive players. So I like Dallas here. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I agree with that again. I hate that we keep agreeing on some of these games here, but this line at 3 makes a lot more sense. At 3.5, this has to be a pick on the card. Now, obviously, you mentioned Dallas defense getting better than what they did last week. Last week, got to throw it out because they played against a team without an offensive line.
Yep.
So that really shouldn't count. But the divisional games, year in, year out, these teams find ways to play these close games against each other. Usually it's the road team that wins these games. Like we've seen in the past where Dallas wins in Philly wins in Dallas. I expect this game to be very close. I think Dallas is a live dog. The Eagles might be the best team in football with that new defense. With Jalen Phillips had a bunch of pressures. I think he had 5 pressures last week to add to that defensive line between Carter and Davis. I mean, just a dominant defense that they've shown. But that dominant defense has played in the elements at night against quarterbacks that can't handle the elements. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised that they shut down Jordan Love at night in Green Bay in the cold wind. I'm not surprised that they shut down Goff, although a lot of that last week was 4th and short that they just landed on the right side of. But the Eagles could be the best team in football, but I still feel like something's missing from the offense. And Lane Johnson being out is a huge factor. The fact that they're trying to make A.J. Brown happy, they're not focused on winning. They're focused more on his happiness. We wondered a couple of weeks ago why on 4th and 8, they threw the ball deep to A.J. Brown. And that was simply because Hurts decided, I want to make my friends happy. So they're more concerned with the happiness and the mood of the team than winning games. Saquon hasn't looked like Saquon as much as he did last year. So 3.5, I think this is a good pick. I thought originally that 3.5 was the right line. Now, as I thought about it more, I feel like 3 is more the right line, or maybe 3 with juice, maybe exactly where it is now. But from a contest perspective, we have the hook. So I think this was my game. This was my number 5 game. The Saints were my number 6 game. I kind of like getting the dog at home, getting 3.5 more so than asking the Saints to win a game, because the Saints are still the Saints. And almost like a couple of weeks ago where the Saints played Carolina, obviously that line was too high and we like the Saints getting the points. But again, it was 2 bad teams. Let's take the points. Here, the Saints are still a bad team. Now, I think Falcons will quit. I don't think they'll give you the same effort because I think they know they're done and they have a quarterback who's got a noodle for an arm. But I'd rather get the 3.5 than lay 2.5 with the Saints.
Okay, so how strongly? I mean, you said it's your fifth
Yeah,
game.
this is my number 5 game. So we talked about the games we have already mentioned.
Yeah.
Lions, definitive. Vikings, I love. Seattle, I have no problem laying the wood. Those were 3.
Mhm.
Saints and Cowboys to me are 5 and 6, and then there's the game that I like better.
Okay, well, I wonder if we agree on that one too. We'll see. So right now I'm gonna put Dallas as a maybe right now, but I'm gonna move them ahead of the Saints as the top maybe. So unless you like both of these games,
I do like both of the games. I do like both of the games. I'm saying the Saints and Cowboys. I like both of them.
I'm talking the both remaining games.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's find out. The Sunday night game, Buccaneers at the Rams. The Rams are favored by 6.5. This isn't the best spot for the Rams, coming off such a big win against Seattle, now playing a team that I don't know how much they care about. Back in the day, of course they would. They used to meet in the playoffs, and this is the NFC Championship game in '99. But it's long time ago. So yeah, I don't think the Rams are going to be too geeked up for this one. However, I think there is reason to take the Rams here too. First of all, I say this every time Tampa plays a good team. Like every time Tampa goes up against a team in the upper class, even Group B, they just don't live up to expectations. Eagles game earlier this year, they were blown out until the end. They lost to the Lions by 15. They lost to the Patriots at home. They lost to the Bills, even though the Bills were not playing well at all in the first half. They still lost to the Bills by 12. A year ago, they got blown out by Baltimore Monday night. This team just does not meet expectations when going against the upper echelon in the NFL. Also, Tampa has maybe a flu bug going around. They have 6 guys with illnesses on their injury report. Anytime I see 3 or more illnesses, I'm like, that just kind of like it's waves a red flag there. And I don't want anything to do with players or a team dealing with the flu. So this is Rams or nothing for me. I have a small bet currently on the Rams. Also, they have circadian rhythms favoring them as a bonus, but still, the main thing here is that they're the better team, and the Bucks could be sick too, and the Bucks just can't live up to expectations here. So I'm slight on the Rams. I don't know if they're going to make my card on. Probably not, but what do you think about this game?
Tampa Bay Bucks +7, number 1 game on the board. First of all, the line's
Seriously?
not 7. Our line is 7. Circle line is 7. Market 6.5. I was surprised when I saw that. I made the line 4.5. To me, Tampa Bay is a team that I love to ride as a dog. We took them on the road against Seattle. They won outright. They were getting 3.5 in that game, and I think they should be getting 3.5 to 4.5 in this game. Now, throw the flu out the window because I have no idea if they're sick. I have no idea if that's a rumor. I have no idea if they're going to be sick in 3 days from now. So let's pretend that they're healthy. They're getting guys back. Bucky Irving practiced. You mentioned some of their games earlier this season. They didn't have an offensive line the first 5 weeks of the season. Now, Godeke is back. Wirfs is back. So they have an offensive line. Jamel Dean right now by PFF is the number 1 corner in the league. Their defense is getting healthier. I just think this is a team that fights when they're behind. Baker is a great quarterback to have when he's behind. Last week, they were down 12, and he threw a pick in Buffalo, and that's why they ended up losing by 12 instead of losing by margin. But that game was a back-and-forth game. They're in Buffalo, arguably the best team in the league, arguably a top 3 or 4 team in the league, Buffalo, even though they lost this game tonight. They were beating Buffalo 32-31 in the fourth quarter. So that was a back-and-forth game. They did some good things offensively. We know Buffalo can't stop the run. Sean Tucker was amazing last week, so I don't even care if Bucky plays. If Bucky plays, just adds another dimension to the game. They're absolutely a live dog to win. The Rams are in a bad spot. The Rams are coming off of their biggest win of the season, a game that we said last week could be for the 1 seed, right? So when I look at the Rams, the biggest flaw the Rams have, and we've said this a number of times, their short yardage situation is miserable. Last week, first drive of the game, 4th and 1, failed. They get the ball back. They get the ball down to the goal line. 1st and goal at the 1, miss. 4th and goal at the 1, they scored. So on their first 4 attempts needing a yard, whether it was the 4th and 1 on the previous drive or the 1st and goal from the 1, they failed 4 times in a row. Their short yardage is awful, and it's going to come back to haunt them. Now the Bucks, if you said I have to take the Rams in a teaser and a 6-point teaser to win, I wouldn't do that. I don't think the Rams are a lock to win this game. I wouldn't look at the Rams as a potential survivor pick in this game. Now, I think the Rams will win. I think they're better coached. I think Stafford's a better player. They'll find a way to win if they're behind. They have a very good defense. And they may make the plays when they need to. But I'm getting 6.5 points with a team that I think is a live dog and a team that fights constantly and a team that's getting healthier, especially on the offensive line. And the line shouldn't be 7. I mean, I think the line should be 4.5, and even then, I would like the Bucks. Circa flashed 7 this morning, I guess, and that's why the contest line is 7, whereas the market's 6.5. To me, this is the easiest pick on the board. Bucks plus 7. I don't want to try to talk you into it. You're on the other side or a pass. I'm okay passing. Again, my number 1 pick doesn't win every single week, but I don't understand how this line is 7. And if we get into Sunday Night Football, this is one of those back and forth games, 23-20, 27-23, 24-23, 26-24, something like that. I fully expect this to be a good game. I don't think this is going to be like some of the – and even in that Eagles game that you referenced, the Bucks fought back, right? What did they end up losing by? 6? I think they lost by 6.
8, I think. It was 8.
They lost by 6. 31-25. They lost by 6.
Okay.
The Houston game, they came back. They almost lost that game. Remember, we were on Houston in that game week 2. They came back. They found a way to win because they converted a 4th and 8. Against the Niners, they dominated because Baker was able to pick up a big play scrambling. Yes, they got blown out in Detroit. They had a poor game in Detroit. They lost 24-9. That's because Detroit lost the week before, and Detroit wins every game by margin off of a loss. The New England game, they lost. They lost by 5. That was a back and forth game. The Buffalo game, I agree, they lost by 12. But like I said, they were up 1 in the 4th quarter, and they almost came back on the back door, except Baker threw a pick late. It's okay. Threw a pick. It happens. I love this team's fight. I love this team's attitude, and the Rams, off of the huge win, would nowhere near lay this. I wouldn't tease it, and I wouldn't 13-point tease it where you flip a touchdown. That makes no sense to me, and we've talked about 13-point teasers before. The Rams wouldn't even be on my card if I had plus 6. So, and again, teasers are different, right? I obviously live take the Rams plus 6, but on a teaser, it's a bad play. So the Bucks are my number 1 pick this week. It's absolutely going to be my super contest. That's 6.5. If you had any inclination towards maybe, I would play it at the plus 7. I don't think they lose this game by margin.
Okay, yeah, I made this line 9.5, so I'm definitely on the Rams. Kevin Kovac, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kevin. He says Bowles is on his way to Raheem Morris status, as far as I'm concerned. I think he's already there. 2 failed former head coaches trying to stay relevant. Baker inexplicably beat the Seahawks in spite of Bowles. I'm taking McVay every time. Yeah, certainly a coaching edge for sure. And so you mentioned Jamal Dean. He hasn't practiced yet this week, so he could be out. Vita Vea, I don't think is healthy. Tampa is very weak against the run suddenly. Like, they're usually a top 5 team against the run. This year, Tampa is, I believe, they're 21st against the run in EPA. Yeah, 21st. Like, Vita Vea is not healthy. Hassan Reddick's going to be out again. No Jamal Dean, probably. Irving's coming back, but at what capacity? Like, Godwin might be back, but at what capacity? I don't know, man. Like, this team just never beats the good teams. And yeah, they fought back against the Eagles. The Eagles fell asleep at the wheel. Like, if the Eagles kept the foot on the gas, like, they would have won by more. We saw the Eagles.
They don't have to win the game, right?
Yeah, the Eagles game, like, they felt like they did that against Denver too. Like, the Eagles have done that all year, and Lane Johnson actually got hurt in that game too, so that's why they couldn't score as much in the second half.
If you look back, I know week 1 is a million years ago. They beat Houston by 5 because once they're ahead, they don't score. Look what they did against Jacksonville in the second half, right? They were up 28. They won 35-7. I think they were up 21-0 or 28-7 at one point, early 3rd quarter. And they just didn't score the rest of the game because they don't have to. Last week, by the way, they almost blew it. Now, they're up 21-12. They had 14 points in the first quarter. I get it. Seattle's a good defense. But they scored 14 points in the first quarter, put up 7 points the rest of the game, mostly because they didn't have to score. I'm not blaming their offense for not performing when they didn't have to. So if you're a team that's ahead and you know how to run out the clock and you know how to control the game, good for you. You don't have to score. But by the way, they weren't even able to run out the clock. They were able to punt and pin Seattle back at an inch yard line on the most perfect punt that you've ever seen. And Seattle still was able to get into a situation where they were able to attempt a 61-yard field goal. If they punt that ball and that ball gets into the end zone, the Rams lose that game last week.
Mm-hmm.
On a game where they were +4 in the turnover margin, they would lose that game. So I think the Rams are one of the top teams. I have the Rams number 5. I flip a coin between Chiefs, Bills, Lions, Eagles, and Rams. I pretty much have them all the same. Those are my top 5 teams. I have them all ahead of Seattle. Andy, Seattle's not number 2. Sorry. So you have your top 5 teams, and I have the Bucs down at number 12. So I agree that there's a wide margin between these two teams, except it's not 7 points.
Okay, I have the Rams at 2, and I think the Bucs is 13 or something, or maybe 12. I forget. Yeah, I have them in Group C.
What did you make the line?
9.5. So the reason Darnold threw a late interception versus Tampa was because Bowles out the blitz, the Seahawks didn't block, and Darnold rushed the throw to avoid the sack.
Not the point. The Tampa won that game. We were getting 3.5. It was a no-brainer on our card. This is a 7-point line. That's an even bigger no-brainer on our card. If you told me this line were 3.5, I would say, yeah, I like the Bucs, but I don't know if we want to play it as a contest pick. 4.5, it's in. 6.5, for sure. And 7, like that's silly. 7's crazy, and that's why the line's not 7. I mean, it's 6.5 with juice. But how is this line? I mean, Andy, maybe you know something we don't, but somebody must have played overnight a play on the Rams that pushed us to 7 for a split second. I see it's 6.5 minus 20 at Circa. Everywhere else it's 6.5, 15, or South Point has a 7. That's interesting. Otherwise, nobody else has a 7. Oh, ESPN bet, is that a real thing? Does ESPN still exist?
Well, someone's taking it over because ESPN they have the partnership with DraftKings now, so they they give ESPN bet DOS boots. So it's going to be. I think Penn is just reclaiming it, from what I understand, but it's still going to be a crappy sports book that limits you if you have any sort of success.
Tampa Bay needs to start winning games. They've lost a bunch of games in a row coming out of the bye. There's another tough game before next week's. Next week gets easier for Tampa the rest of the season. I see power ratings from 4 to 10. Okay. Well, at the end of the day, 7 points is that's a gift.
Okay. Yeah. I disagree on that one. I do think the illnesses should be something to consider.
If that's true, if we know that there's a flu bug going around and everybody's throwing up and nobody has any energy, I mean, are we going to know that?
No, I'm just saying. Anytime you see more than 3 illnesses on the injury report, it's a red flag for me. Does Bowles know they need to start winning? That's certainly a good question. I don't trust Bowles with anything, especially against McVay. So, any chance the Seahawks make a trade on a rental offensive line? They are banged up interior line. Well, unfortunately, we're past trade deadline. You know, you could always see a team cut a player and then they sign. But no, I don't see that. I think the Seattle, they might be down Gray Zabel and they practice today. I think Seattle's pretty deep on the offensive line in the interior. I think they have some good backups, so I'm not too worried.
They don't need an offensive line this week. What's the difference?
That's true. Well, if Jeffrey Simmons plays, maybe that's about it. Also, where will John Gruden coach next year? I don't know. I mean, I guess the deal would be that he could start coaching again if he stops with these lawsuits, maybe. So I think they're going to push for someone to hire him. Maybe the Giants. That's certainly a possibility. I mean, I don't know. That's my best guess. Coaching the Giants. It feels like Jackson Dart would be a guy that Gruden would like. Like you like Tebow,
Yeah, I was thinking the Giants.
Yeah, I think that's a good fit. So, Andy says Seattle's 7-3 straight up, 8-2 against the spread. Teams that are far above 500 straight up rarely have better ATS records. Seattle's still underrated in the betting markets.
I didn't downgrade Seattle after last week's game at all.
No, neither did I.
And I didn't touch the Rams either. I thought that game was almost to a T kind of what we thought, right? Mm-hmm. We thought Darnold would probably make a mistake or two. Maybe we didn't think 4, but we thought We keep saying how the Rams are not good in short yardage. The game was basically a coin toss. I was very impressed with Seattle fighting back. And they really had a chance to win that game late. That was a nice late drive from Darnold from his own, literally from his own end zone.
Yeah,
He was
that was crazy.
He had a couple of bad throws, and the Rams took advantage of those bad throws. I thought those teams are deserving of the power ratings that we have for them. I have them 5-6 and a point apart. So if that game is in the Rams again, I think 2.5 is the perfect line. Rams by 2.5. If that game is in Seattle, I think Seattle by 1.5 is a fair line. And I probably like Seattle in Seattle laying 1.5, just given the potential for the pass rush, and the crowd will be significantly more in favor of Seattle. It's actually funny when you get to rewatch the games. I think somebody said last week that I don't watch any football. I don't watch Seattle games. But when I rewatched Seattle Rams for the second time, one thing that I noticed when Cooper Kupp got a catch at one point, you heard the crowd chanting "Coop," and the announcer's like, "Oh, these fans in LA love him. Like, remember him." Like, no, these are not LA fans. These are Seattle fans.
Right.
Because there's no fans in LA. They're all the Niners packed the stadium. The Seattle fans packed the stadium. The fans chanting "Coop" were the Seattle fans. So when you go Rams at Seattle, it's going to be 95% or more Seattle fans. Yeah. I don't know where the Rams fans are coming from. They're probably not going to Seattle, and Seattle fans are not giving away their tickets. So I think there's going to be, despite the power rating, where that game will absolutely be under a field goal. I love Seattle in that game. You could book that right now. What is that? What is that? Is that that's week 16, Thursday night football.
Oh, well, we can't put that on our card, unfortunately.
No, we won't put it in the card, but we will. I will tell you right now, all things being considered, all things being equal, no injuries, I love Seattle in that spot under 3.
Okay. All right. We'll bookmark that. Yes, Andy said not this week as being underrated as 13.5. I actually think the line is short. You can argue this week as well, because I think the line should be 15 or so. Heard Gruden wants to coach college. I hadn't heard that, but yeah, you could be right about that.
He's already publicly said that he wants to coach in the NFL again.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he does a lot of video with Dart. Yeah, I could see him like loving a guy like Dart. He loves his mobile quarterbacks.
Oh, I can absolutely see him with like a Scatterboot, right? I'm thinking like back in the day with like a Mike Allstott type.
Oh yeah. That's
that would be a perfect fit.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we have our one final game here, and honestly, this I thought you would like the Niners here, because you said you had your final, you had your best pick here remaining in the final 2 games. The Niners are, well, yeah. The 49ers are -7. Now, I think there are there's several reasons to take the 49ers here. First of all, you have a bad team coming for a win. So you have the Panthers. I still consider them a bad team, 6-5. I think this is a bad spot for them. The Niners 1-2, but they're obviously much better than the Panthers, especially with Brock Purdy back now. I don't think he was 100% yet, but he was really good, much better than he was against the Jaguars when he tried to come back earlier in the year. George Kittle certainly seems like he's 100% now. Ricky Pearsall played, but didn't do much. I feel like he's going to do more this week. So the offense at least has his players back. His defense does not, but still, I'm not too concerned about Bryce Young, who he had that great game against Atlanta, a jet-lagged Atlanta team. Before that, he scored 7 points against the Saints. Like, what did he do? Like, I'm not going to be too excited about one Bryce Young game. I think the Niners have a great matchup edge in this game, because the Panthers seem like they're going to be down their top 2 linebackers. And whenever you have Kyle Shanahan against like miserable linebackers, like, that's going to be just an offensive onslaught. Like, he knows what to do. He loves attacking the middle of the field. George Kittle, McCaffrey, and such. Like, he's just going to abuse that awful Carolina defense. That's going to be even worse without their top 2 linebackers. So big mismatch edge here for the 49ers. Also, they have circadian rhythms favoring them, kind of like the Rams do. The 49ers against East Coast teams when favored on Monday night are 10-5 against the spread all time. At least dating back to 89. Just lots of reasons to take the Niners here. I think this line is actually too short too. And I think that's because the Panthers just won last week, and the Panthers are 6-5, but they're not a 6-5 team. They're like a what are they, 4-7 team, 3-8 team. And if they were 3-8 or 4-7, this line would definitely be not. It would not be 7. It would be higher than that. So I like the Niners quite a bit here. What do you think?
So let's go talk both sides of the coin, right? So Carolina's off the wild overtime comeback, right? Nice win, nice comeback. Bryce Young more yards in that game than he's probably. I think he had one game with 300 and change. Last week he had almost 450, and then he didn't have a single other game this season where he's over 200. So kind of an anomaly there for Bryce Young, although you said it, and we said last week with Atlanta jet lagged from an 11-hour flight. I guess no surprise. Or maybe a little surprise. I don't think I would have thought Bryce Young is capable of putting up 450, but good for him. He puts up 448. Carolina is the second team. We mentioned Chicago in the first game we talked about tonight, the Bears. Chicago is the first, Carolina the second team with a winning record and a negative point differential. So if that doesn't scream overrated, I don't know what else does. So that's the first thing about Carolina. I don't like Carolina off of a win. I don't like Carolina as an overrated football team. Here's the problem. The Niners don't win back-to-back games anymore. And this is going back to last year. The Niners this year off of win are 2-4 straight up. And they're 1-5 against the spread. So you talk about winning the game, because this was the other team I was considering all along for Survivor. If I wanted to maintain my options for Thanksgiving, the options were Baltimore and Philly. Now, with Burrow coming back, potentially, and Lamar not being 100%, I don't want Baltimore next week, which means I'd rather take Baltimore this week than San Francisco this week. And those three teams are interchangeable because one of them would be used in week 15 because the Eagles play week 15 at home against the Raiders. The Niners play week 15 home against the Titans off a bye. So in my head, I'm thinking those 3 weeks, I'd rather have Baltimore this week, 14 points favorite, instead of Baltimore next week, who's a touchdown favorite, or less. I think they're -4.5 or 6.5 on the advance. Philly next week is -7. And then I would take the Niners against Tennessee, and I don't have to take the Niners this week against Carolina in what is basically now a playoff game because these two teams could be fighting for the final wild card spot, as crazy as that sounds. So if you're looking up the Niners win games off of a win, like I said, this year they're 2-4 straight up off of a win and 1-5 against the spread. Last year they were also pretty bad off of a win. They're in general, when you're laying points with the Niners, you're banking on Shanahan not blowing leads, and he specializes in that because he likes to punt and he likes to kick short field goals. So I can't stand those coaches, and we've talked about that way too much over the last year and a half. The bigger problem with the Niners is they're playing a bunch of third-string defenders. They're literally playing like a preseason defense right now. I had to look up some of the names of the players, and I'm a fan of the team. I don't know some of these players right now. I'm looking up right now. The Niners, by the way, Tatum Bethune, who is wearing the green dot in place of Fred Warner, he's out. So some guy named Luke Gifford or Curtis Robinson, I don't even know who's going to be wearing the green dot. Somebody named Mick Martin, who's a third-round draft pick this year, who I don't think has seen the field. And if he has, I can't recall his name being called. So I'm looking at this team right now. Their defense is so bad that in a situation last week where the Cardinals were down by several scores, and you knew they were throwing on every single dropback, every single play was going to be a throw, to the tune of 47 for 57 for Brissett, the Niners had 0 sacks. How is that possible? How is it possible when you know a guy like Brissett, who's not mobile, is going to drop back every single time, 57 times? He had 47 completions, and the Niners had 0 sacks. They can't pressure. There's nobody in the middle of the field. You're playing a third-string defense. So how could you trust a team that can't defend laying points? Now, I made the line 7. The circle line happens to be 6.5, so I was conflicted on that as far as who I'd want to pick. I would not trust the Niners laying 6.5, 7 points because the defense is so bad and because the team doesn't win coming off of a win, or they don't cover coming off of a win. And Carolina is just the second most overrated team in the league. So I don't love the Niners in this spot. I would probably lean towards Carolina with 7 points. With 6.5, I don't know what I would do. So I would pass the game.
Okay, I made this line 8, and I don't think you'd have to worry about the Panthers coming back, given that the circadian rhythms would favor the Niners. I don't know. I think they'll be fine. Like the Panthers scored 7 points against the Saints defense. That sucks too. Like I'm not. I think the Panthers are a joke, and you said
I agree with you.
They're overrated. So
I agree with you. They're overrated. I agree they're a joke. I agree the spot stinks. When you look at the Panthers alone, I think they're grossly overrated. In my power rankings, I have them at number 25.
Mm-hmm.
So they're right there with the Raiders and the
Yeah.
Falcons, who stink now,
Mm-hmm.
and slightly ahead of the Browns. I have the Giants and the Dolphins ahead of the Panthers right now. And
Yep.
that's with Dart, the Giants with Dart. So
Right.
I don't think the Panthers are any good. I just, if you look, and I see you pulled up the Niners there, and I can't really see it. The screen's a little small. But if you look
Let
at
me
their
see if I can
games off of
enlarge
the
it.
win,
There we go. This site sucks. They changed the design. You should be able to see it very clearly. Now you can't see it. These are the results off a win since the past year and a half. 3-9 straight up, 1-11 against the spread.
there you go.
4
Perfect.
8 to the under.
3-9 straight up, 1-11 against the spread.
Yeah, you know what?
1-11 against the spread in 12 games.
I'm looking at these results though. Like a lot of these games are against tougher teams. Like the Rams. There's no shame in losing to the Rams here.
Mm-hmm.
Texans. Great defense, and the Niners had a lot of injuries in that game. Well, they still do. Buccaneers. Much better than the Panthers. The Jaguars. Purdy was injured in that game. Like that's why they lost that one. Cardinals, we had the Niners there, and they didn't cover, but they
didn't cover because of the safety.
A stupid safety,
Mm-hmm.
and they did cover against the Saints.
And
then yeah, you can go back to last year. I don't know if it's worth going back to last year.
It's not worth going back to last year. I think the problem this year for the Niners, throwing out the Panthers, is the Niners off the wins are not great. The defense is just a bunch of third stringers, and now you're asking them to lay points. I fully agree with your handicap on the matchup because the Panthers don't have the middle of the field to cover what Shanahan likes to do. McCaffrey could go crazy in this game. Kittle could be great in this game. Purdy against this defense should be able to be very good. I was surprised that the Niners put up 40. Forget winning by margin. They put up 40 plus last week. The reason that Arizona didn't score some of those late game situations because they fumbled going into the end zone. And there was a pick, I think, on another drive, which took potential points off the board. So they ended up winning by a wide margin. Would it surprise me if the Niners won this game 35-17? Of course not. Sometimes the Niners get on a roll and they just keep rolling and they keep scoring on every single possession. I just have a hard time laying points with a bunch of third string defenders where you're getting a new guy wearing the green dot. I don't know who Nicholas Martin is. I don't know who Curtis Robinson is. I don't know who Luke Gifford is. There's a lot of players on this team that just don't belong in the NFL. So I have a hard time betting on that. And a team that I know has no pass rush, who, as evidenced by last week in pure pass rush situation, had 0 sacks on a guy that can't run. At least Caleb Williams this year, he's moving around in the pocket. He's avoiding sacks. Last year, he was taking those sacks. This year, he's getting out of pressure, and he's using his legs to avoid those sacks. Josh Allen tonight did not do that. Lamar did not do that last week.
Yeah.
Brissett, it wasn't like I'm watching Brissett and he's under pressure all game. He was in a clean pocket all game in obvious passing situations down by 3 scores. And the Niners couldn't come close to him. They didn't blow on him. So I would have a hard time laying, even though our circle line 6.5, super contest is 7. So you have a hook of discount there, call it. And I thought the line should be 7. I thought 7 was fair. But the reality is I'm much more comfortable taking Baltimore this week in Survivor than I am San Francisco. And frankly, if I had to pick a second team, if I had multiple entries, I might take New Orleans ahead of taking the Niners. And really, that's more because the situation in Week 15, I'd rather take the Niners off of a bye Week 15 against Tennessee than a Monday Night Football game against a team that's now fighting for their playoff lives, which is crazy. And if the Rams somehow, if the Bucs lose, which I know you think they will, the Panthers are playing for first place in the division. That's insane.
That's crazy.
We might be having a conversation next week about, oh my God, the Niners just lost to Carolina. Carolina somehow winning all these upset games, getting lucky. They're in first place in the South. At Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and they're 9.5-point dogs to the Rams.
That's my potential survivor next week. If I'm able to survive Baltimore and Philly, I'm looking at the Rams in Carolina for Week 13.
Yeah, I think that is correct.
Or Miami at home against the Saints.
Oof, I don't know about that one.
You don't want to feel stupid, and you'll probably feel stupid when losing on Tua when the Rams are a 9.5-point favorite.
I think Tyler Shuck is going to tear that defense apart. The defense is so bad.
Yeah, I'd
Well,
probably if I'm alive with Baltimore and Philly, I'd be looking at the Rams.
yeah, that makes the most sense to me. Um, I'm just looking at next week's schedule. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, you use the Chargers, right? Because Chargers are hosting the Raiders.
Yep.
Okay. It. I assume you use the Broncos because they're at the Redskins.
Yep.
Patriots host the Giants. Use the Patriots, right?
Yep.
You used the Patriots last Thursday. Jaguars at the Titans. I know you said Jaguars week 18. That's another one, I guess. Bucks against the Cardinals at home. I don't really trust that one.
Nope. Need the Bucks for week 14 or 16.
Yeah, it's not a great one anyway. Yeah, I guess it has to be Rams. That's what I'm thinking. So, what good defensive coordinator has Bryce Young beaten this year? Well, let's look at their wins. Bryce Young has beaten the Packers 16-13. And definitely not a great offensive performance there. And we know the Packers have been a little underwhelming. So they beat Atlanta.
That's
Which,
it.
they beat Atlanta twice, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but that's not a good DC.
Right. They beat Dallas with the
That's not a
Eberflus.
good DC.
Yeah, you're not impressed with the Eberflus win.
I'm not impressed with any win other than the Green Bay win.
Yeah, they beat the Jets and they beat the Dolphins. Yeah, and none of those defenses are good. So
no.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, look, the Niners have question marks, of course.
And they've also gotten blown out by Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They were getting blown out by Arizona before they fought back. They got blown out at home by Buffalo. They didn't score after the first drive against New Orleans at home as a 5.5 point favorite. They have a negative point differential on the season. I'm just curious to know what that is. Their negative point differential, they are standings. Chicago is -6. Carolina -42. And that's with a 30-0 win.
Wow. That -42.
They're -42 win differential.
This team sucks, man. I'm confident in my Niners play. I like it. It's going to be in my card. I like the Niners.
I hope you win.
Yeah.
I will not be betting on this game.
I know. Okay, let's finalize the card here. I hear you're 0.7. I do think you're overthinking it.
Could very well be.
Yeah. Well, let's see. All right. So our card, pull it up here, is I think it's very simple. So our definite, let me pull our definites. And you already ran through these before. Lions -10, Seahawks -13.5, Vikings +6.5. And our maybes, we have two maybes. So we have 5 picks. We have here we go, real fast. And our maybes are Cowboys +3.5, Saints -2.5. So is that it?
I would love to try to see the Chiefs Colts game in the Circa is 3.5.
Okay.
I don't love it. I like it. But I really like the Bucks +7, and the Super Contest line is 6.5. You can sleep on the Bucks. Maybe I can convince you to look at the Bucks.
I like the Rams. I might be betting the Rams. I'm not sure.
If you find out tomorrow that the illness has magically disappeared, everybody is healthy. If you're betting the Rams, I hope you're not laying 7.
I wouldn't think so, but
because I'm sure the most places have it at 6.5. Maybe that line will come down.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it depends what happens to the illnesses and such. Maybe it spreads. Maybe this flu spreads or something. So, yeah, we are. I think we have our 5 here.
Yeah, I think so. I think those 5 look good. You know, it was funny. I was looking at my handy week preseason numbers, and just to kind of see how things move. Like the Lions, for example, were favored by 9.5 preseason. Pretty much the same line, which is kind of crazy. So I think the Lions are better than I think most people would have thought going into the season with losing the coordinators. And the Giants are missing a whole bunch of players. So I think that line is real short. Packers were -3.5 on the advanced line over Minnesota. Seahawks -1.5. How
Yeah.
crazy is that?
How about we just bet against the Titans on every single future line?
I'm kicking myself for not playing under six wins.
I know.
Rams, Bucks, Rams -3.
Okay.
Niners, Panthers, Niners -7.
There you go.
The Niners are not as good as they were perceived to be preseason, and I would argue Carolina is better, even though they're really not better.
Right. At least the record. Yeah, the
Same.
record. Yeah.
I just want to look at my power ratings from preseason because I have Carolina right now -5.5, and before the season started, I had them -5.5 in week 1.
Oh wow.
I had absolutely no difference between week 1, what I thought about Carolina then, and what I kept thinking about Carolina now.
Yeah, but Evan, Bill Parcells once said, "You are what your record is." So the Panthers must be a good team.
True. I'm sorry. He's right. He's right. Therefore, Chicago is 7-3, and they're one of the best teams in the league.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Chicago was -2.5 preseason line against Pittsburgh.
That's funny. Yeah. No, I mean, look, Mike Florio ranked the Bears number 3.
Did he really? That's great.
Well, that you sent that to me. Remember?
Yeah. I did send it to you.
Yeah. So he thinks the Bears are the 3rd best team in the NFL somehow with a negative point differential.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like a team like Seattle, what was their over/under win total? 7.5. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
And the Colts, Chiefs were 9.5. So that makes sense, right? Lines that move like that make sense.
Right.
That's where you could try to take advantage of some of this. Where, like Vikings Packers line at 3.5 makes a lot more sense to me than 6.5. And I hate to say it again, but Rams -3 or 4 against the Bucks makes a lot more sense than -6.5. So +7 Panthers in the contest. Okay.
Yeah, we will be on.
I don't have a problem with the Panthers at +7. I don't like the game.
Okay.
I love the Niners matchup. I don't like the spot for Niners off wins. And the defense just scares the hell out of me. I'm as a Niner fan, I'm worried about the game. I'm not going into this game like, oh, this is slam dunk.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Salah against Bryce Young. I think that's this players or not. I feel like it's not that difficult to defend the Panthers. So I'm not too worried. Plus, like I said, circadian rhythm second half, that's really going to hurt the Panthers if they try to come back. So same thing with the Buccaneers too. But anyway, anything else before we head out?
No. I think the card looks good. Saints Cowboys, I like both of them, so I have no problem going with those games. And I love the defensive scores in the Raider Browns game, and continue to look for these live. And we say this all the time. If you see a game where you're watching quarterbacks, or in the standalone, there's fewer games at 4:00. Bijan, great opportunities for live betting. Rams Bucks. There could be great opportunities for live betting. If you see the Rams up big, I would look for Baker rushing yards. I would look for Baker passing yards with him behind. There's opportunities all over the place. So it's not just going in now with same game parlays or parlays in general or teasers or bets. There's so much more available in game, especially when there's fewer games on. So 4:00 or night games, you got to take advantage.
Yeah, I always like when there are fewer games on because you can concentrate on one or two of them and really kind of get those live bets going.
That's what you have next week. You got 4 in a row, Thursday, Friday afternoon, and then fewer games on Sunday. So
yeah, well, the Friday game is complicated because so it starts at 3. My high school reunion is at 7:00. It's my 25th year reunion. I don't know if I'm gonna go. Just because I'm kind of peeved that they scheduled this on the same day as the Eagles game. And like if I go, it's downtown, which is a disaster to go to. I don't know why they made it downtown. Like it's ridden by crime and there's traffic, and it takes for me it takes about 40 minutes to get there because traffic.
How far is that way? How far is that from Lincoln?
It's pretty close. So if the game goes overtime, it's gonna be a disaster with the traffic. Like I don't know what these idiots are thinking. But it's like, oh, let's put it on the same day as the Eagles game. Just make it the next day. Like I don't understand this. So I don't know if I'm going. I do want to go just for the writing material for Jerks of the Week, but I have a lot of writing material, so I don't really need to go. And there's really everyone I talk to, everyone like
Why
I was
can't you just go late?
I guess I could. I don't know. But if the problem is if I go late, I'd be carpooling with someone, so they would have to also go late. I'm not driving downtown. I just can't do it. So I can't
Uber.
parallel park. That's downtown. That's super expensive. It's gonna be $100 something. Yeah, the day after Thanksgiving. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They made it on Black Friday, the same day as the Eagles game. Like, what are these idiots thinking? Like, I don't know. And also like everyone I was close with in high school, I still talk to regularly. So like, I don't need to see, like, there's no one I'm like eager to see or something, unless like one of my teachers comes, like like the teachers I like still like they show up, but I like, frankly, I don't even know if they're alive still. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going. I'm still undecided. And my best friend, he's yeah, he texted me. He texted me yesterday. He's like, are you going to the reunion? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, I'm not going if you're not going. So now I feel like I'm obligated. And Kenny, who we do the show with on Tuesday, I asked him if he's going. He's like, no, I'm not going. So it's like my three best friends from high school. One's not going, or the two are not going, and then my best friend, he may not go. So if he doesn't go, like, who do I talk to? I don't know.
I think you're gonna be watching the football game. That's what I think.
Probably. You know, the last reunion I went to, I just got bombarded with football questions because like people know like you know what I do. Like people I didn't even talk to in high school. Like, what do you think about the Eagles this year? Like, you know, and like, do you think the Eagles will win this game? Like I didn't even talk to you in high school. I know your name. That's it. I didn't say one word to you in high school. Like, it's just funny that way. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna walk in like, hey, what do you think about the Eagles?
Right? And they read your site.
Yeah. Maybe they're listening to the show, and they're maybe the person who organized this thing on this stupid day is listening right now, and they're like, and they're crying right now on the computer. I apologize. So, not really. I don't apologize. Anyway, any final thoughts before we head out? I know I already asked.
That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck to everyone. If you don't watch tomorrow's show, good luck with all your bets. Hope you win all of them. We'll be back tomorrow though with Tom. It's a different show because we don't go down the card. We just concentrate on the games that we really like on our cards. So, and we talk about like random stuff. I think a couple weeks ago we were talking about like our favorite cereals and stuff, and last week we were talking about like fast food restaurants or something. I don't know. We always get off topic, but it's always a lot of fun. So yeah, all these shows are great. I love doing them with you guys. You guys provide some great insight and different opinions, and it's always great to have different perspectives. So all right, well, thanks guys for watching. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content for free. And thank you especially to Kevin Kovac for the $10 super chat. I really appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you for always supporting us here and keeping the show going. All right, like I said, we're going to be back tomorrow around 10:30 to 11. Yeah, otherwise, I hope you guys have a great night, and I will talk to you then.